Yes. Welcome to another session, another live stream here on the Chaos Rain Show. I am Chaos Rain here. Welcome to all that shows up onto the chat room in the building and that will catch hopefully the replay of this particular broadcast. Let me give a few shout outs to those that's already in the building. As I see D Derail, eyes all on me. I see the one and only Lovely Peace. What's good? Welcome to the channel. I see Sankofa, Sigma Male. And we have Femi. What's good, Femi? Like always, guys, you know the deal. You know the drill. Make sure you hit the like button and please share the video. Oh, and for those that don't know how to follow Chaos Rain, hit the red button, the subscribe button, and hit the top notification bell for the uploads, live streams here on the Chaos Rain Show. The social media links to follow me are the following. You can follow me on Twitter at ChaosRain7. Add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. And please, pretty please, follow me on Rumble as well. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Femi. I see you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And let me see if I have any banners. Also, you can also join the Discord service of the Chaos Rain Show as well. Let me see what's going on here. I did not put it in the description, the links to follow me. So I do apologize. Let me find those links for y'all now. So I can give it to y'all right now. 1 second. Let me pull it up. This takes a while. All right, where is my links? Okay, here's my links. No, that's not it. Let me go to my edit video. And I hope that, oh no, it will not. It will not show up here. What's good, Jay Shine? How you doing, brother? Okay, I see it now. So I'm gonna pin this in the description now. And let me go back. This one I stepped my way. All right, guys. I had to do some switching around a little bit. I'm going to switch around right now because I got to find the links and post it because I did not do that. I'm going to do it now before I begin the stream. Okay. So I'll put them in the description now. So when you go back to playback of this or refresh it, it should show up now. And I don't know what that is. Hold on. What is this? YouTube Studio. I gotta find it. Okay, I found it. So I'm gonna add these links now. And I'm probably gonna put the links to follow me in the chat room as well to keep things consistent. There we go. So you can follow me on Rumble. I'll put the Rumble link now. For those that it's not familiar with Rumble, I want to get Rumble to up to 25 followers or more, so I can start going more hardcore uncut on Rumble. Where's the chat room? Okay, so let me go back. All right, so here you go. Hold on, why is this thing? Okay, there you go. Here's the Rumble link, and I already put the Cash App, Super Chat. What you feel that the channel's worth, please donate to the channel. And always keep liking the video. So that's pretty much it. I think I got everything unlocked now. I don't think I missed anything. Did I miss anything, guys? Nope. Don't look like I missed anything. So let me go back. Go back. All right. As you see the title, you know the deal. You know the drill. Is Dr. Umar Johnson a loser to black men? A very much iffy, much controversial subject, which needs a real answer. From my own analysis and from following the brother for such a long time, my conclusion is that he is. And not only he is, because he is not a living testament of his own life to be reflected to the modern average or below average black male here in the West we call America, to be brutally honest. And because of this, he holds a high expectations for black men here in America, but has not lived up to his own expectations of what he should be accomplishing already. And as y'all know, for a new soundbite for those that familiar, this is our good old Umar Johnson back in the past. And I'm not gonna play the full thing. I'm gonna give you a snippet of the good Dr. Umar Johnson on how he views black males, the more thuggy thug males, that what they deserve. Let's look.
I'm going to sleep for God.
Let's see that again. Let's watch it again.
Some of them going to sleep for God. Some of them going to sleep for God. Some of them going to sleep for God.
So that's his thought patterns. That was roughly 13 years ago. Or we could say 14, roughly 14, 13 years ago. That's his views on black males, the more gangster slash what they call the lowest lows of black males in our communities. That's what he views and thinks of a lot of black males that fall in the parameters. If you are a gangster, you're a thug and stuff. He, in his mind, he thinks you should be going to sleep for good. But last time I checked, no black male today is in that mindset. Said we're gonna put a lot of our own to sleep for good. But he is the advocate of, he's saying he is the black leader or the one black male so-called representation of black masculinity. For the sisters said that this is an actual man, a real man that kisses your butt. He's that man that these ladies love and worship. And I mean worship, and I say the word worship very loosely. In me, I don't agree with that. I think man and woman should not worship each other. They should worship. If they're gonna do any form of worship, they should always worship what they're trying to accomplish and do what's necessary. But regardless, worshiping some deity or whatever, I don't really that won't fly. But other than that, that is the good Dr. Umar Johnson and his views on a lot of things. And another thing, guys, I will be opening up the panel roughly maybe 20, 30 minutes, depending how I go through this little tape. There's 2 parts to this tape. I don't think I'm gonna go through part 2. I think part 1 is we'll say enough, and hope that I go through my discussion about him. And I want to hear from the brothers that's in the building. And for those that's still in the building right now, can y'all please press 1 or 2? 1, if you really want to come up and give your overall take, or 2, you want to be in the clouds. It's up to y'all. I will drop the link regardless. So, no further ado, we're going to look at this, I guess, tape of Dr. Umar and his views about the community. We're going to pull it up right here. All right. Let's go.
Into this first.
I ain't got no shirt for me.
Oh, definitely do.
We definitely got
definitely do.
you know what I'm
2XL,
saying?
don't give me no bra.
I told you.
You
See,
yeah, you did.
I did.
Say
You know what I'm saying? I appreciate
it. Listen, get into this first topic, right?
And mind you, Dr. Umar is not the end-all be-all of what black men should be doing. Majority of black men knows what they should be doing anyway. If not, eventually they will. The point is this, that he is one of many black men in his own thought patterns and thinking of what, in his reality, think that why black men overall drop the ball. Now, there are a lot of black men throughout social media and the internet have different views about the good Dr. Umar Johnson and his views about the community, which they're entitled to do that. But I take a different approach. I think men should do what's possible. If you're a man that you feel you need to provide and do something for other young black men, you need to do so. And if you're a black man that said you want to check out, then by all means, you might as well check out because you're dead weight. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's listen in. And you see the fair use in effect, as you see in this little corner here.
I know you're very big with the Pan-African community. What is your ultimate goal that you have in mind for the overall Pan-African community?
Great question. The vision, the mission, the goal of Pan-Africanism is to unite all African people globally into one unified and organized system through which we can protect ourselves politically, economically, socially, culturally, spiritually, academically, so forth and so on. So unity is the foundation and independence is the elevation. That's the goal of Pan-Africanism, to make sure African people are not dependent upon members of other races in order to protect our lifestyle, our culture, and most of all, the destiny of our children. Do for self is the heart and soul of Pan-Africanism. So when we win, we will be in charge of our lives. We will control the banks. We will control the hospitals. We will control the criminal justice system. We will control the economy. We basically want a parallel world that is under our authority, because whoever controls your institutions controls your life.
Got you. So the big word.
Now, before we continue, do anyone really believe that black people today in the 21st century want real, actual African unity where we take full position and power of our reality? If you do mind, I'm going to read a section, a paragraph, and it's going to be one part, and I'm going to continue playing on because I think this is important. Now, for those that don't understand, Dr. Umar Johnson, like he's been saying for past almost now a decade, of building an institution that he's going to harbor as many young black boys and young black girls into one building, mostly separate buildings, and teach them what we call Pan-Africanism, or another form of power. Now, Jay Shine said something very good in the chat room. He said, there is no Pan-African community. Yes, this is right. That is his vision. That is his end game. For anything that he's ever want in life or what he's trying to attain, that is the main goal he's trying to achieve. And nothing's wrong of dreaming and achieving big goals. But my thing is, you have to start somewhere. And I think this man is shooting maybe a little bit too high, in my opinion, but that's just me. So, first paragraph I'm going to read, and we're going to continue this tape because it's very important. I came across this paragraph, and it's really evident that if Dr. Umar Johnson is really serious about this, then he should know this, that was written in a lecture written by one of many black intellects that's in the same field as Dr. Umar Johnson, particularly in the clinical psychiatry and mental health, the one they call Amos Wilson. In this, and I'm reading your comment section, Jay Shine. In this paragraph, this section, and I'll give you the name of the book after I read it, is titled in this section paragraph, Myth and Neutrality. Knowledge is neutral. Education is education. Another myth. We don't even have to talk about that one. I talked earlier about the idea of Eurocentric education, making people believe that courses are neutral and non-political, that economics is objective, that psychology is objective, sociology, and even that physical science or physics science is objective. Science and technology exist in relationships to a particular social and political structure. You don't just create science out of nothing, but we are made to think that science is merely the application of the scientific method. Therefore, nations that have not developed science and technology are failing to apply the scientific method. Other nonsense. That's one paragraph. I'm gonna read the next paragraph, but let's listen more into this. Fair use, fair use. And I want y'all to think what I read earlier.
Word that I heard was, unity, right? So what is your, you can see that we have this gender war going on, this diaspora war going on. What's your thoughts on those overall wars that's going on within the Pan-African community?
I would not be surprised if we learned 20, 30 years from now that the domestic gender war was inspired by the FBI. Just as the FBI gave birth to COINTELPRO back in the 70s and 60s to disrupt and destroy the credibility and success of Black liberation movements, I could very well see where COINTELPRO or something similar to it could have also been invented to turn the Black woman against the Black man and the Black man against the Black woman. If you look at this, it looks just like COINTELPRO, except it's not Stokely Carmichael fighting Huey P. Newton. It's not Dr. King, and Malcolm having differences. You understand? It's you and your baby's mother having differences. It's you and your fiance having differences. It's you and your wife having differences. And the family is an institution, no different than SNCC, no different than CORE, no different than the Panthers, no different than the Garvey movement, no different than the Freedom Riders. So I'm keeping an eye on it, but I really do believe that at some point we're going to find out that the U.S. government had a hand in the gender wars and the promotion of it, because I don't think it's a coincidence that this Black male versus Black female gender war is being initiated at the very same time that the U.S. government is pushing transgenderism on elementary Black public school children. So is that a coincidence that while you're trying to disintegrate the Black family through non-traditional forms of life, through Black on Black crime, through police genocide, through poor nutrition, poor healthcare, all these weapons, the Snow Bunny crisis, along with that, you see so many commercials.
Always Dr. Omar has to include the non-Black woman always in his lecture and always in any presentation he's a part of. Fair use.
Commercials now where it's the Black man with the white woman or the Black woman with the white man. Clearly there's an agenda to brainwash our children into either being with someone of the same sex or someone of another race. And I think the gender wars coming at this time plays into the hand of the government's agenda to destroy the Black community. On the other side, when we look at the diaspora wars, I think that's a CIA inspired situation. I wouldn't.
One is within the states and another one is
FBI
okay.
doesn't have a charter to operate internationally. So if you want to disrupt locally, it's the FBI. CIA has no charter to operate domestically. So when the CIA interrupts, it's internationally. So the CIA is outside of America, FBI is inside of America. If you're a Pan-Africanist like the Honorable Marcus Garvey, El Haj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, you're a Pan-Africanist, you're automatically going to be watched by the FBI domestically and the CIA internationally. And I think the diaspora wars plays right into the hand of America's foreign policy initiatives. There was a security memorandum that came out, I think it was in the late 70s, early 80s, where the U.S. government in a private security memorandum that has now been published now said the greatest threat to American foreign interests is what? The operational unity of Africans in America and Africans in Africa. This is the government. Our biggest threat is if we let the Blacks on that side of the Atlantic Ocean organize.
This is a memo?
Oh, it's a memo. Oh.
Now, to continue forward with this, I gotta read another paragraph, and I want you to follow me here, guys. Where I'm getting at with this. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're going to continue. Moving forward on the myth neutrality, paragraph 2, it continues saying, you have to have money to do science. You have to have a particular social political organization to do science. You have to have certain values and attitudes towards life. You have to have certain objectives and relationships among people in order that science as we see it today develop and flourish. Science is just as much a political product in many ways as a sociologist and psychology. But when we are taught the science course, we are taught alienated knowledge. We are taught just the method, techniques, and technologies without being taught the sociology of science. Sociology. And consequently, even when we are educated in science, we do not know how to use science to achieve our own social interests. Myth that kind of scientific education, you could educate black engineers from now until doomsday, but you will not be able to use them for your own advancement. We see South African today struggling. Where are the black engineers? We can make guns, the blacks, machetes for black generals, sergeants, and all the other people that we have existed in this system, such that we cannot advance the war interests of the black South Africans today, thus not innovating or the inability to militarize support our South African brothers due to the type of military and social training we have received that leaves out politics and other kinds of relative things that would make such support a reality. And when we are educated to become professionals, we are cut off from the knowledge of other things and the many relationships between things, such that we can only operate professionally under the rulership of the whole, or what they call the Caucasoid man, non-black man, and not under our own leadership. End of paragraph 2. Now, and I see Mr. Eugene Steele seen there, and there's like a few more paragraphs. As you can see, what he's getting at with Dr. Omar, in his own assessment, in his belief, because there are many greater forces that prevent the Western black man here to prevail, there are many obstacles, but there's not no excuse that you should keep pushing what you're trying to achieve. And one of the few things is, as you know, I read from the first 2 chapters, it does take actual money, and you have to understand why you get into these fields. Now, I'm not sure what he has in store for his school. I heard he was talking about political science sociologists. How much is he going to probably imply what he has learned from the lectures of Amos Wilson into his school? Because you're not even implying that or putting that as the first priorities. All this talk about, you're going to get children, black boys, black girls to be very much functioning people is not enough. And that's why if you look at majority of black people today, they have thrown money into Omar's cause, but they don't see the vision because they don't see any output or outcomes of what he's really trying to do. Because the money he's asking and what direction he wants to take it to the majority black people, ADOS or not, is not enough. Let's continue. Fair use, fair use.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I could probably get you the numbers. It's not on the top of my head right now. Absolutely.
Right.
Some people have even published it in books. It's definitely on the internet. People have referred to it. So they basically said, in essence, Pan-Africanism is our only problem. They don't care about nothing else. People pushing religions, people pushing socialism. They don't care about that. Pan-Africanism is the only threat to white supremacy.
So
That's crazy.
So what would you say about, obviously when we talk about the diaspora world, there's a sense of, African people or Caribbean people using the word, well, I'm not black, you know what I mean? I'm Caribbean or I'm African or whatever the case is. And they kind of associate negativity or negative stereotypes with Black Americans per se. And they feel like they don't want to identify as black because black usually is the term that Black Americans call themselves. So I don't want to be identified as black, so I am Caribbean. It's like they're separate people over there. You know what I mean? So what's your thoughts on that whole, that divide and just that whole blatant negative stereotype that some Africans or Caribbeans or other black people feel towards Black Americans?
Well, the white man's original tactic of divide and conquer, separate and rule is still his most cherished weapon against African people. You see, understandably, when people look at America up until now being, quote unquote, the most powerful country in the world, if you want to get down with the most powerful country in the world, you're going to have to despise who they despise. And since America has done such a great job despising African people, anybody who wants to come to this country, even if they are African, are going to seek somebody else's company other than ours, right? That doesn't make what they do right. But we have to look at the fact that we as African people in America haven't done a whole lot collectively to make ourselves the power base we should be for all African people. With our education, with our income, being the richest group of African people in the world in terms of take-home pay, we should be the power base for African people throughout the world. Y'all need institutions, we're going to fund them. Y'all have a problem with your water, we're going to fund that. You understand me? You got a medical crisis, we're going to take care of that. We have the resources, we got the person.
Now, do y'all believe that? Now, I'm not saying Black people in America make more than everybody else outside the third world countries, allegedly. Or actually, no, allegedly, that's actually true. If you look at the you take the currency converter of a couple countries, I think our money stretched further in roughly over 200 countries. And most of those countries are in Africa and some parts of South America. Do y'all really believe that? Because if you're not really organized, the money you make, it's going to be useless in this times we're in. Let me read the comments, because y'all notice I put things in the chat room. So let me. African countries don't even control their own banking economy. Yep. He can start by graduating one student. Yes. I said Mary was up here earlier. We, as Black people, have focused too much about what the other race tries to do to us and focus on ourselves and what we are not doing. Yep. I looked at the school's website and it was looking for the mission statement. I do not see a mission statement so far. You know, it's very interesting, Eugene, still that they don't got a mission statement. Usually with any person that establishes any organization, there's always a mission and an ongoing goal to achieve. But you saw that they had no mission statement. So it makes me wonder, is what he's saying, what he's really trying to accomplish, really he taking the action to fulfill this accomplishment? I also wonder what's the school curriculum will be. Yeah, well, you can't have no curriculum if you don't got a school, because let's be honest, he says got one school up and running. So a lot of questions, but anyway, let's keep going. The fair use.
Personnel, we got the expertise, we got the money. We should be the power base. So when an African comes to America from outside of this country, they say, well, wait a minute now. If I align myself with the African American, what is in that for me? Because I don't even see the African American doing anything for themselves on a collective basis. We have success, but it's all individual, right? There's very few institutions that we run and control independently. Let's take it to Little League. When you go for the Little League football team or the basketball team, do you go try out for the team that's losing every year? Or do you want to be on the championship team? Most children want to be on the championship team. So when Africans from the diaspora come to America, they see two teams. The Black team that has lost 157 straight Super Bowls since the end of slavery.
No. I had to correct you. And y'all can vouch for me for this one. No human being, I repeat, and I repeat closely. Matter of fact, let me put myself bigger. See, I understand what I'm talking about. No human being wants to play for anyone that's a loser. Dr. Omar. Period. Hell, if people had to choose between being rich or poor, you think somebody's going to pick to be poor? That's one of them weird trick questions that it's not like it's a gotcha question, but it's obvious that no one doesn't want to lose. There has to be winners, and people want to win, regardless. So I'm not sure what he's getting at with that. We're posing that type of scenario. Anyway, let's keep going. Fair use.
Right? And the white team that seem like they still winning and doing great. I want to align myself with the white team. Now, the mistake that Africans in the diaspora are making is that if you do not link up with us, your national homeland will never be free either. See, what they do to African people anywhere, they do to African people everywhere. So if you come from Nigeria, you come from Ghana, you come from Jamaica, you come from Turks and Caicos, you don't associate with African people, you go get you a snow bunny, move up on the west side, you can do all that. But understand, Your life is only as sacred as white people allow it to be. At any minute, they can turn you into a Breonna Taylor, whether you have a U.S. passport or not. You've seen it happen here in New York City years ago with the Abner Louima and Amadou Diallo cases, where the police, abused African immigrants right here in New York City.
Mhm.
So when it comes to white people, we're all African. They know who we are. But they will use one group against the other as long as it is in their best interest. And once they're done using that group, guess what they do to that group? They destroy them too. It's no difference than looking at the black community compared to black celebrities. They used Bill Cosby as long as they could. And when they no longer needed him, they turned on him.
Right.
They'll use Whitney Houston as long as they could. When they no longer needed her, they murdered her. Michael Jackson, they murdered him. Prince, they murdered him. Jimi Hendrix, they murdered him. Kobe Bryant, they murdered him. You understand? So all of us are nothing but tools in the hand of white supremacy. We have to wake up from that nightmare, from that imaginary illusion of inclusion that has black people thinking, if I come to America, but stay away from African Americans, I'll be given probationary white status. You'll never be given probationary white status because you are not white. And when they're done using you for your intellectual knowledge, when they're done using you in the labor market, when they're done using you, helping to perpetuate the myth of a multicultural colorblind America, they'll bust you right back to the country you came from. All African people in America who are not practicing Pan-Africanism are simply tools that are being used that have an expiration date. And when your utility to the white power structure expires, you will too, and they will send you back home. And this is why they hate blacks in America so much, the white power structure. We're the only non-white people in the country who cannot be sent home.
Right.
You cannot be deported. Slavery destroyed your cultural, psychological, and intellectual connection to your ancestral homeland. If the Ghanaian get on your nerve, he go back to Ghana. If the Puerto Rican gets on your nerves, he go back to Puerto Rico. If the Afro-Cuban gets on your nerves, he or she go back to Cuba, right? If the Chinese get on your nerves, send them back to China. If the East Indian gets on your nerves, send them back to India. If the Arab gets on your nerve, send them back to one of the Middle Eastern states. But when American Africans get on your nerves, where do you deport us to? You can't deport us.
Yeah.
Slavery destroyed that connection that they needed in order to remove us. Most American Africans are so brainwashed, they think they're American. So,
all right, let me read Eugene Steele's comments. I was looking at the website for Muhammad University of Islam, and it has a mission statement. Yes, and that's indoctrination. Unfortunately, I like the nation of Islam, but they're no different from teaching what's really necessary, and that is really achieving power. They're just as more gullible and more integrationist than everybody else. Don't be fooled. Next comment. And look at the picture of the MUI website. It seems that it has a very serious curriculum. For example, there is a picture of two sixth graders, age boys, dissecting something. And you say, nope. And for those who are wondering, the Muhammad University of Islam is Nation Islam private school. Yeah. And they teach you Islam as well, which doesn't really empower black people at all. But let's continue. Fair use.
you cannot deport them because this is what they identify with most. So in other words, the white man created his own problem, which makes it almost impossible to deport us. So the only way to get rid of us is a systemic system of racial genocide, and that's what they're using.
So what do you think about people, because a conversation or argument that I have is with, you know, some Africans or Caribbeans is that they would say that Black Americans don't have any culture, right? Mm-hmm. Or they'll say that racism doesn't exist because I was able to come from my country and I made I was able to be successful and provide for my family. Y'all just using racism as an excuse, to hold y'all back or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. Well, what's your thoughts on?
Well, number one, they're politically ignorant, socially inexperienced. They know very little about the experience of the American African. And they also don't understand racism. Mm. In order for racism to succeed, some Blacks must be successful. Mm-hmm. You need a LeBron. You need an Oprah. You need a Tyler Perry. You need a Sean Carter. You need a Beyonce Knowles. You need a Sean Puffy Combs. You need a Robert Johnson. You follow? Mm. Why do you need successful Black people if you want to destroy our Black people? Because in order to brainwash the other ones into believing that your failure is not due to systemic discrimination, it's due to the fact that you're not intelligent enough or you're not working hard enough. Mm.
Before I continue, see some people flowing back and forth. Please, guys, make sure as you come in, hit the like button. Likes are free. Please, likes are free. So please hit the like button and please throw some in the super chat or the Cash App. Donate to the channel, guys. Don't be so stingy. It's content nonetheless. So you know the deal. Let's continue. Fair use. Fair use.
Do you see that?
Right.
So if Dr. Umar is a billionaire and you've been trying to get your business off the ground, it ain't popped yet.
Yeah,
You've been trying to get your corporation off the ground, it ain't popped yet. You done opened up 10 business, they all done flop. You need me as the billionaire to come and say, fellas, it's not your fault. They designed the system to not work in your behalf. But because I love being rich and I love my proximity to white culture and lifestyle, I don't tell you it's not your fault that there's a game set up and there's only going to be a few Dr. Umars. I tell you the problem is yours. Obviously, you didn't do your business plan right. Obviously, the reason why the bank didn't give you the business loan is because you didn't have your numbers right. Your credit wasn't high enough. You see that? And so the black millionaire and billionaire class is one of white supremacy's greatest arguments to defend itself against accusations of racism. Because Oprah Winfrey is not going to indict the system. LeBron James is not going to indict the system. You understand me? Tyler Perry is not going to indict the system because they made their money through the system. And because they're at the top of black society, they know how powerful white folks really are. They know how unfair the game really is. They know me being here is a privilege that white people gave me. Yes, I worked hard to get here, but I would never be here without their help. Right. At the end of the day, all of our black millionaires and billionaires are owned by the white power structure. I don't say that to be disrespectful because I respect LeBron James, right? I appreciate the image of a black man with a black woman with black children who's never been in any trouble. Right. Entered the league at 17, 18 years old and never had a single scandal. He's a good example of a responsible black man. Right. I like how Jay-Z came from Marcy Projects and now you're a billionaire the legal way. I like what Oprah did coming from nothing at Tennessee State. I like what Tyler Perry did coming from sleeping in his car to being a billionaire to owning the first all-black music studio, one of the largest in the country. Even white folk go to Tyler Perry Studios to film their movies. Part of Black Panther 2 was filmed at Tyler Perry Studios. So I appreciate their rags to riches story. The problem is they can't top it off with a cherry on top. And the cherry on top is to look the camera in the eye and say, I made it, but most of my people will never will because the system is not designed for black people to succeed. And this is how they get us. They'll promote a few blacks. Everybody else struggling, everybody else in poverty, everybody else coming out of prison, but they'll promote a few blacks. And because a few blacks made it, they're automatically supposed to mean that we are doing better. No other group you could push that on because every other group is based on collective group progress. Right. Black people, we are totally rooted in selfishness and meism. We don't have weism like the Latinos or weism like the Asians or weism like the Anglo-Saxons or the European Jews. We have meism. And as long as we have meism, a few successful blacks automatically means y'all all must do better. Like I think I saw Jay-Z do an interview one time and they said.
And now with that statement, next paragraph. And this still is the other part of myth and neutrality. It states, you can educate as many black scientists as you want to, but you do not build an economy that finances their scientific behavior, you're not going anywhere. Therefore, it's misleading to only educate black children in mathematics and educate them only in technology thinking. Certainly, we want and have to do that, but you're missing when you think that the only thing you have to do in order to advance your technological interests. The latest physics experiments require billions of dollars. When you talk about what they call cyclotrons, particle accelerators, and things that are now being used to probe into the very secret of nature, when you talk about building these cyclotrons that are 20 and 30 miles in circumference with heavy magnetic computers and all other kinds of things, you have to realize that if you are serious about catching up with the white man, in terms of science and technology, you're going to have to be in a position to finance it. If you're not in a position to finance it, it's over. Let's read that again. If you're not in a position to finance it, it's over. Over. Yes, it's over. Therefore, while you're educating your children into science and mathematics, you must be building an economy structure for them. You must be able to pay them for their research. You must build the facilities and the institutions, and you must organize your own political, social, economic systems such that scientists or scientific thinking and behaviors is facilitate, rewards, reinforce, and can advance itself. So my biggest question, and I see our comments, and I'm gonna read our comments in a second. Well, all these billionaires, and I know it's a lot of black males, so I'm pushing that these are the examples of black progress. What are they doing with their real money? If you don't finance your children that's already in these institutions, but you make them work for other groups of people, and like I said, you have to put money in a lot of things anyway, especially if they say you can't get it from the government, the loans and stuff, it really is over. This is why they malnutrition you and underfund you. So it's nice that there's some billionaires here in America that's black, but that's where the ball stops. And yes, a good portion or majority of them are compromised. I'm sorry, they are. As much as men and women don't want to hear that, but they are. So let me read the comments. Yes, this system is designed for our race to fail, but again, we focus too much on the system as opposed to focus on ourselves. Yes, we can't override the system if each of us can straighten ourselves out. And during the Jim Crow days, black people did exactly that. Yes, that was back then. We're in the 21st century. We're not in Jim Crow like that. Well, we're still in some parts of isolation and quarantine, but not as bad it was 60 or 70 years ago. Or actually 6 years ago now. Or 59 years ago, if I could be exact. And like always, you see Queen of Virtue said, please send your notifications, be generous, donate. You see the super chat and the donation link, the Cash App right here. So please donate. Let's continue, guys. Fair use.
Said, well, what have you done for black people? And he said something to the effect, and I don't want to misquote him, I'm paraphrasing. He said something like, me just being who I am
is enough for black people.
Is enough for black people.
Okay.
Most ridiculous, arrogant, ignorant statement I ever heard. But that's what black millionaires and billionaires feel. Because I've made it, I'm a benefit to my race. And it's that same ridiculous black bourgeoisie illogical thinking that ushered Barack Obama into the White House, who did nothing for black people but steal everything we worked for and give it to the gays, the immigrants, the Latinos, and white women.
A lot of people don't. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I said, so what do you say about like selective people that selectively black, or they want to seem like they support black people? And black people are like, we're forgiving to everybody, right? We always give opportunity.
Except each other.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we handle that? Or should we still be supportive? Or because Give
me an example of someone who's selectively black. Give me an example of.
Right.
Like people that like kind of pick and choose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was saying that as far as like groups, different people. Okay, so like let's bring even the reparations situation. So there's a lot of groups of people, like people from Jamaica or people from the Caribbean. They're not black, but now they're hearing that reparations is a possibility. They want to be black now.
I would argue they are black. I would argue they are African.
But they're not. Prior to that, they say, I'm not black. You get what I'm saying?
I understand. Okay. I don't identify with y'all, but when there's a benefit to be obtained, I will.
Yes.
Temporarily. Yes. Until I get what I need and just roll off the boat.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyone who is disingenuous about their membership in the African race should be rejected from it. I don't believe in part-time Africans. I don't believe in opportunistically Africans, right?
Definitely.
Like what you're speaking of, selective Africans. If there's something that I can select that will be a benefit for me, I'll be African for a week, for a day, for a year until I get it, and then I'm not African no more. I reject all of them.
Okay.
Whether that's a Jamaican African or an American African.
Definitely.
Because you got black folks right here who are the offspring of our enslaved ancestors who don't identify as being black. For me, blackness is a two-pronged test. First of all, are you biologically African?
Definitely,
And are you psychologically African? So if I look at some of my Puerto Rican African brothers and sisters and some of my psychologically black, but they do not psychologically identify with the race at all. Many do, but more often than not, they don't. And so for the ones who do not identify, I don't accept. I don't believe in begging, pleading, or forcing people to be African. You follow what I'm saying?
Definitely.
It's an honor to be God's original people. It's an honor to have the strongest DNA. It's an honor to be the oldest people, the most creative people. It's an honor to be who we are. We're God's first children. We are the chosen people. So I'm not forcing nobody. If you think being ultra light skinned is a benefit, run with it. You understand? If you think speaking Spanish makes you better than black people speak English, you run with it. Or if you're an American Negro like Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who goes out of your way to support the white power structure at the expense of African people, you run with that. You follow me? Anybody who wants out, I'm letting them out. Because the worst thing you can do is force a black person to be black when they don't want to be. Because the minute they get a chance to stab you in the back, they're going to do it 2 times. You follow me? So anybody who don't want to be, you're free to leave. And let's deal with the people who are 100%,
But
24 hours a day, unapologetic.
And if you say this to our aunties, our grandmas, they're going to forgive them. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, let them back in. You get what I'm saying?
But the issue...
But don't you
Well,
think?
let me go back. Let me take a step back. For me, this should only be one reparations movement anyway. I don't support the tribalistic approach to reparations where the American Africans got their own fight, the Caribbean Africans got their own fight, the continental Africans got their own fight, the Australian Africans got their own fight, the Brazilians
Wait, hold on. Let me finish.
got their own fight, Central American Africans, We all came from one place, one place, and it should be one organized system for reparations. The reason we don't have a global approach to reparations is because everybody favors the tribe over the race. And that is why Pan-Africanism is so revolutionary, because we're the only ones to say that being African is more important than being a Jamaican. Being African is more important than being an American African, a descendant of a slave. Being African is more important than being a Brazilian. Until you elevate the family above your nationality, then we'll never get what we need. You have to have a unified approach for something as important as reparations. And I'm going to be honest with you, and this is something that a lot of us are not looking at globally or locally, and that is what we are demanding for reparations, you normally only get through an act of war. If we get all that we are entitled to, it'll be the first time in human history that one group of people received from their oppressors that type of a settlement, that type of a resolution. People go to war for less than what we're owed in reparations.
Before you continue, I would somewhat, and I say somewhat loosely, agree with Umar, but I don't, and here's why. And thank for everybody that's watching. I know there's more people watching. Please, guys, hit the like button as you come in. New viewers watching right now, hit the like button. Likes are free, so please don't be stingy. Hit the like button. And if you feel inclined, you could donate. The reason why, and this is me thinking out loud, Black people in America should get the reparations and should succeed to get it first. How way they get it, I don't know how they'll get it. Is going to set a precedent to the whole Western world. It's going to give every person that doesn't want to identify as Black, African, or etc. to really fight what is rightfully theirs. But because majority of Black folks in America or abroad have such a disconnect in the individual mindset and a lack of self-worth and self-hating that is now beyond epigenetic, I think it's not inherent because of what we've gone through. We do not see the bigger vision to not only commend those that said they should fight what's theirs, but we fight against it. Case in point, you see them creating new labels from FDA, ADOS, and Black people in America should be getting what is rightfully theirs. They should be getting the reparations decades ago. And there are going to be forces for a lot of Black people that don't understand that's going to fight Black Americans to get that. And I get that. I understand it. Because they too don't see the significance that if Black people get what is rightfully theirs here in America, it's going to give you something that is not born and raised in America or ADOS or whatever you want to call it, to start thinking of fighting what is rightfully yours outside or back to your oppressors' colonies. That's why I get cringe when I hear other Black people really have an argument to fight what's really theirs and what they're rightfully due, which is actual repair, whether it's financially, socially, and even as far as in rewards of lands, etc. Why would you, as a Black person that don't got it all, and let's be honest, I don't care if you got a good job or you're a millionaire, you don't got it all. You're still owed what is rightfully yours. You have to crawl while everybody else in the society that's not you fly. But because you already have a certain thinking, a very flawed logic thinking of yourselves, you don't see the value that you should be asking and not only demand, but fighting what is rightfully yours. That should be number one in every Black person, man, woman's mind. But you don't see them do that. So let me read out comments. We can't override the system if we each of us can't strengthen ourselves. Okay. And during the gym, I read that already. We need to work on ourselves individually because nobody will rely giving us anything. We got to go to work. Yeah. And what is Black? Well, Omar defines it a while ago. We talk so much about Eurocentrism. I do not think we really know what Afrocentric really is. And to be honest with you, Mr. Eugene Steele, Dr. Steele, they will never know what is Afrocentrism because majority of our people, they only think and believe one thing only, that they are white in blackface. The term Afrocentrism is foreign to a good portion of a lot of Black people, even the ones that are considered thinking Black men or thinking Black women. It is foreign because they don't believe, they don't think that there's no world outside the Eurocentric mindset or theory or even his reality to what is rightfully theirs. And for those that's watching, thank y'all. I see the chat room starting to grow a little bit. Please hit the like button. You can share this stream and also throw a little donation here and there for Chaos Reign Show. I surely appreciate it. Let me see what else. Should I read the next section? Now I'm gonna hold off. Let me keep letting this tape run. Fair use, fair use.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. I believe it's going to take war for us to get it.
But so what about?
They will give you reparations, but it will not be anything near what you were entitled to.
Because I'm familiar with the U.S. paying, obviously, the Native Americans,
the Japanese,
the
European Jews.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, you know, of those.
And they give reparations to people who they haven't even harmed, like the Afghanis, the Ukrainians,
right,
and everybody else.
Right. So, you know, how should reparations be paid? And, you know, why do you think that, you know, because there was a poll recently where they asked, you know, non-Black, you know, Americans or just non-Black people if Black people deserve reparations, and overwhelmingly they said no. So why do you think that non-Black people said these are non-Black people? You know, when
non-Black people.
You know, why do you think they don't think that Black Americans deserve reparations? And how would you go about giving reparations to Black Americans?
Good question. First of all, why does the opinion of an Asian matter at all? You are not an enslaver. You are not an enslaved. You understand me? Why? What does the opinion of someone who had nothing to do with my tragedy, why does their opinion even matter? I'll tell you why it matters. America wants to create this illusion of a multicultural society where race don't matter. And America knows, because everybody wants to be here so badly, they don't have a problem shitting on black people to improve their relationship with the white power structure. So if you ask the Asian, do black people deserve reparations? Of course not. You ask the Arab, do black people deserve reparations? Of course not. You ask the European Jew, who got reparations? Do black people deserve reparations? Of course not. But we should not be surprised. If I don't value black life, why the hell would I care about you receiving compensation for unpaid labor, damages, and harm? They don't value African life. So of course they don't give a damn about you getting no reparations. You understand me? Right. Because they're not approaching this question from an issue of justice or perspective of justice or equality. They're approaching this question from a perspective of racism, bigotry, bias, and discrimination. Right. Nobody wants black people to get anything because they want to take your place. You understand me? The Asian don't want you doing better than them in America. You understand? The Arab don't want you doing better than them in America. The European Jew don't want you doing better than them in America. The Latinos don't want you doing better than them in America. So of course, if somebody put a microphone in their mouth and say, should black people get something that you're not going to get, why would they say yes?
They prefer us to be a punching bag.
Absolutely. And my question is, it's none of your business.
All right.
This is an issue between black people and white people. What the Chinese man thinks is irrelevant. What the Latino thinks is irrelevant. What the European Jew thinks is irrelevant. What the Arab thinks is irrelevant. You're not the enslaved or the enslaver. Who the hell cares what you think about it? But because we're so multicultural, the power structure can use those non-black opinions against us. Because they can say, since you see the Latino as your brother and sister, since you see the Arab as your brother and sister, and we are all Americans, because black people love that Americanism, which is another reason why we're not going to get reparations, because the white man knows you would rather be an American and get reparations. If you got to choose between the two, most black people want that red, white, and blue flag more than anything else, right? And so as a result of that, the power structure can then say, since you consider yourself to be a part of the family of America, most of us don't think y'all should get reparations. So why don't we put it on the next federal election and see how many Americans think black people should get reparations? And then they could just block out the whole thing and say most Americans don't think this is a good thing for the country. You see? And you know how they were able to do that? Because we started identifying with this country more than ourselves. We should have never bought into this American citizenship garbage. We should have never allowed that. Just like we should have never bought into people of color. We should have never bought into minority. We should have never bought into disadvantaged communities. All of these are labels
umbrella terms,
that clump you in with all non-white people that allows the government to take care of their needs and never take care of yours. Right. And nobody even see you not being taken care of, because guess what? Your issues are being smothered by Arab issues, Latino issues, Chinese issues, homosexual issues. So nobody even realized black people still suffering because you allowed yourself to be defined in such a way that other groups were included with you. That's the worst thing you can do as a people with such a unique history as we have in this country. We have to stand up and stand out like a sore thumb. But because most black people have been brainwashed by church that being race first is a sin, right? And because most black people have a low racial self-esteem problem, the last thing they want to do is stick out. We are too neurotic about being black. We are too insecure about being black. We are too anxious about being black. We don't want to stick out. We want to blend in. And that's how that multicultural weapon was used against us.
What about, because, you know, right now.
Now, do everybody believe that? Do you agree, disagree with Mr. Dr. Umar Johnson? Let me read your comments. Is Dr. Johnson sure we will be reparations? I do not think it will happen. I do not remember them even apologizing to us for slavery. Matter of fact, I go in further, Dr. Eugene Seal. I'll double down. Someone said that slavery was embellished. Someone said it never happened. I saw a video, a reel on, was it IG? I don't know if he's a professor. I think he's Caucasian or something, right? He was saying something about how they got out of slavery. How the blacks got out of slavery. And I don't know what he said, but I'll tell you one thing. I bet she said it was Jesus that saved them. But this is the delusion you find today. I'm just keeping it real with y'all. Next comment. If you think of 12 tribes of Israel, Hispanics and Native Americans are our brothers and sisters. Yes, but not in the system. They're more fall on the opposite end. Sorry to say it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Now, for the next section. And please, guys, hit the like button, share button. Next paragraph. Myth and neutrality. This is why it is not enough for you to just go to MIT and learn math and technology. You must also learn about the political, social underpinnings and relationships which support science. If that is not done, then you can go to MIT and Caltech and you'll still not going to move very far in terms of your scientific development. I'm trying to show again and again how a Black American or Black African education is fundamental and totally different in many ways from that of the Eurocentric education. We are now being educated in these people's institutions. We must give our children the consciousness so that they are not only going to learn science or scientific methods and techniques, but they will learn how to relate that method and techniques to their political and social circumstance. In order to achieve liberation, technology premises, African nations should bind together and build great educational institutions. We need to build great educational institutions financed by African monies, not by European monies, but by our own monies. I think that's what it says. So that those institutions can begin to provide the kind of service that are necessary to African people. The European College is a part of European self-defense. It's not just there for creating jobs. If the white man wants to develop a weapon, he goes to Caltech, MIT, Princeton, or one of the other universities and say, I want this weapon developed. Then the professor sits down and develops that weapon. If there are diseases within the nation, he goes to the biology department, the medical school, and say, I want you to do research on this particular disease so that the people can be cured. If he had or has a problem with farming, he goes to the agriculture college and say, I want you to develop the strands of seeds, develop that fertilize farming techniques and produce so that people can be fed. What's good, Util? And last, the college, universities, and educational systems is not merely a job factory, it is a majority part of the people and survival mechanisms. And that's why you have to have them for yourself under your control and financed by you so that they can work in your people's interests and people. Now we're going to pause right there. Let me acknowledge anybody else in the chat room. What's good, Untitled? Let's continue. Fair use, fair use. And I'm about to open up in like a few minutes. I'm going to drop the link for those who want to come up.
And when we're having these conversations, there's a lot of words being interchanged. We got African Americans, we got Blacks, So some people would say that Black Americans have an identity crisis. We don't know if we want to identify as Black. We don't know if we want to be African American. We got FBA, we got Moors, we got all these different terms to describe Black indigenous slaves, or you get what I'm saying? So do you think that Black people in America have an identity crisis?
I think most Black people in the world have an identity crisis. You got to remember, when a white man went into the Caribbean, if you were a British subject, you may have called yourself British. If you went into French West Africa, there are Africans who might still consider themselves subjects of the French Empire. You understand me? Most Africans globally have an identity crisis because we have been conquered by white people. Remember, only once upon a time, the only independent country you had on the face of this earth that was Black was Ethiopia. That's the only free Black country on the face of the earth at one time. And we were forced to do what? Speak our oppressor's language.
I have to give an announcement about Ethiopia. A lot of people are not going to like this. And I talked to a brother, African particularly, when he made his regards about Ethiopia. Ethiopia, like many African nations, is still somewhat predominantly black with some mixed Europeans. As you can tell, a lot of the Ethiopians, they are different shades and different blends of other cultures. They are not the only black only established country now. I don't think it ever was, because their own religion was colonized by certain tribes that were colonized by other foreign invaders. Now, if I could find the broadcast that reveals this information, I would probably share it in this channel, but I can't remember the actual broadcast. I know the guy that created the broadcast that revealed this information, but I can't pinpoint the actual broadcast to pinpoint what I'm telling y'all right now. So right now, I'm just giving you that snippet so y'all hear from the horse mouth person. Now I see some new people in here. I see Hard Talk Radio, a censor. What's up? What's good, Hard Talk? So let's keep going. Fair use, fair use.
Right. Wear his clothes, worship through his religion, and identify with his.
Oh, and please, guys, if you're new, if you're coming to the channel, either you're a new subscriber or just watching, if you could kindly please hit the like button for me, please. I would prefer y'all share the broadcast and like it, but a like will go a long way. Or you could just donate. Either or, please support the channel by any means, what you can. Fair use, fair use.
Black.
Right.
So we all had, and many of us still have, an identity crisis. Now, as far as all the different ideologies and political ideologies, here's what I say to that. I don't give it a lot of attention because I think most black people know they're from Africa.
Right.
So when people lie and say you're not from Africa, you're a Cherokee or a Choctaw, this or that, most black people have enough common sense and command of the history to know where they came from. I mean, you have DNA analysis now. We don't even have to debate this philosophically. We can find out genetically. Give some blood and let's see if the Cherokee Nation comes up on the damn paperwork. You understand me? It's not going to come up because you're an African.
Right.
But again, nobody wants to be on a losing team. So look at the contradiction. We'll get mad at a Jamaican African brother or sister who doesn't identify with us. We'll get mad at an immigrant Nigerian African brother or sister who don't want to identify with us. But you got American Africans right here who will tell you they're not African. I'm a
That's
Cherokee.
crazy.
I'm a Native American. I'm an alien. I'm a this, I'm a that. And we don't say nothing to them. You see, so how is them not wanting to be an American African any different than a homegrown American African telling you I ain't African? You see what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
The harm is equal. So why separate it? See, as Pan-Africanists, we don't see, there's really no differences. The same isms and schisms and self-hate that we have in America, they have it in Africa. They have it in the Caribbean. There's Jamaicans who will tell you they're not from Africa.
They got what, over in there, they don't really, they have racism, obviously, but since the majority of the continent is black people, they have a whole thing called xenophobia now, like, where you discriminate from another African because they live in a different country. Like, you get what I'm saying? So
They do, but a lot of the xenophobia, and it's not justifiable, but a lot of the xenophobia is economically related because what happens is you live in South Africa.
Right.
He lives in Namibia, hypothetically.
Right.
It's the classes, you mean?
No, stay with me.
Yeah.
So you are boycotting your job because y'all want higher pay. So they come to Namibia and tell you, get me 100 Namibians, come to South Africa, we need y'all to break this protest. You hungry, you got kids to feed, so guess what you do? You come across national lines and you break the South African protest, now you just gave birth to that xenophobia. Why would you bring your black ass to my country and sabotage my fight for better pay? You see that?
Okay.
So a lot of the xenophobia in Africa is economically related. It's the white man, again, putting black people against black people. It's the same thing they do over here with us. It's no different.
Right.
So which division you think is more important to fix first? The division here in the US or the division in Africa?
It's always global because we do not live in a isolated box. And that's the problem when people say you got to take care of the African-American thing first. That's ridiculous because you may never take care of the African-American thing. So the whole African world goes to hell because we didn't fix this first. And you'll find that you can actually do a better job of fixing local issues when you tap into the global.
Now, I'm going to pause right here. And you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to drop the link. Matter of fact, let me finish read this part of the paragraph, and I'm going to drop the link. I want some people to really give some pushback if they can on this. Continuing. Otherwise, the occurring of your sickness, the feeding of your people, and all of the other problems will only be coincidental to what the white man is doing for himself, or not dealt with at all. If it's not important to the white man, or if he can't exploit you in some sort of way, these things in relationships to us have relatively low priority. We have some of the most asinizing people around to nowadays. Is the black college any longer necessary? Now that we have been admitted to the white school silly, you don't hear them asking, is the Catholic college any longer necessary? Is the Jewish college any longer necessary? No, no, no. Only the black college. This is because the white man knows the nature of functioning of a college, and he's afraid that you're going to find out what it is. So he's hurrying now to destroy what little college you have and take over their influence, throttles them, and or delete them quickly. I wish I had brought an article. I wish I brought the article with me that was given to me by Booker T. Washington III, the grandson of Booker T. Washington. He came in last week and he gave me an article that was published in the Saturday Evening Pass in 1905, written by Thomas Dixon Jr. This is the man who wrote the class, or they call it the Klansman, which became the basis for the movie Birth of a Nation, which came out. If it's 1905, that means Birth of a Nation came out 10 years later, 1915. Side note, it's not part of the book. In this article, Dixon talks about the dangers that Tuskegee institution represents. It's a major piece of racist literature. You really should read it because it is still very much current in the European mind today. Dixon says the effects of Booker T isn't teaching Negroes people to be servants to come at the becks and calls of white men. He is training them to be masters of themselves, and we can't have that. And then it says the white people must understand that this is dangerous. He is teaching black people to function independently or semi-independently in terms of economics development, so much so that a nation within a nation might develop. He goes on and reads out the implications of education at Tuskegee very, very clear. White people see the revolutionary potential of black education institutions, even though we are blind to it. Why are the black studies being throttled? Because black studies, it taught correctly and it taught the way they should be taught, would represent a major threat in European powers. Europeans know it's more than we do. That's why, after the initial throwing out of the crumbs of black studies in the 1960s and 1970s, you see a restriction of that area today. And conclusion of this paragraph that ends this section and the whole part of this section of this book called Myth and Neutrality. Contradictions, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness provides another contradiction. I'm sure in your mind you could see contradictions all over the place. Beautiful words saying one thing and the reality going in the opposite direction in relationships to black people. That section is very potent. And because of that, and mind you, Mr. Dixon Jr. that wrote that piece back 118 years ago, my math is right. Yeah, 118 years ago. was saying what they know. They know what Booker T. Washington was doing at the time. And here's a little secret to those that did not know this. Before Marcus Garvey came to his country, he read the works of Booker T. Washington, especially. And he was very intrigued of what this man has to offer. And the end game, what Marcus Garvey really wanted to accomplish was to build his own type of institution. Because he knows that's where the power structure is at, the institutions. And Booker T. Washington has a school system that teaches Black people to be self-sufficient and even to point how to do business properly. So I want that to sink in a little bit. That's why the last time, and I remember Rael does a series about Booker T. Washington, which is a good series that he's doing with the brothers on the other side of YouTube. Y'all can check him out. Is that time people saw Booker T. Washington alive was in New Haven, Connecticut, Yale particularly. And they had this meeting with him. And I could tell you right now, the meeting they had with him, they gave Booker T a choice. And the choice is either you align yourself with us or you be gone. And needless to say, you know what happened to Booker T. He's no longer here. Because no one ever talked about his untimely gone, mysterious absence. Back 108 years ago, to be exact. Anyway, let's continue on. Fair use, and y'all guys can come up now. And please, guys, like the stream and support the stream. Hit the super chat or hit the the cash app. I think you see it circulating. Fair use.
Global issues, because you're cutting yourself off from ideas, you're cutting yourself off from strategies, you're cutting yourself off for resources that can be put in play locally. And the thing that I always get with people, why can't you do two things at once? Can't you carry water over here and still carry a cake over here? When you drive in your car, ain't you staying with your arms and using the gas and the brake with your foot?
Right.
Why only when we deal with politics and Black solutions do people say you can only do one thing at a time? You can do both.
Yeah.
Every Pan-Africanist in history has done both. We focus on the global unity of the race while we attack our domestic problem. The most honorable Marcus Garvey from right here in New York City was more instrumental in a lot of the changes that came to Black people in New York City than local Black elected officials. And he was a Pan-Africanist. So people have this perception that Pan-Africanists only care about the global agenda. Yes, the global agenda is king. You damn right. But my local issues matter just as much. Because if I'm trying to organize people to join the global fight, what better way to do that than to show and prove where I am? You understand?
Right.
I'm a Pan-Africanist, but name me a school psychologist who put some more work for our kids than me right here in America. Nobody.
Right.
Historically, there's no psychologist who's ever done for Black people what I've done for Black people as it relates to training parents and making sure they can protect their children. I'm the greatest in that area. But I'm still a Pan-Africanist. Why can't I do two things at once?
Right.
I'm going to Johannesburg next month, Ethiopia next month, Guadeloupe, Jamaica. I could still be in the streets of Philadelphia protesting. I could still be in New York handling what I got to do. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
Our problems are multi-systemic, and the solutions must be multimodal as well. We just can't put all eggs in one basket and wait for that basket to sell before we get another basket. That's ridiculous. You're working on something while he's working on something, while you're working on something, while I'm working on something, while he's working on something. There is no one problem at a time. That's ridiculous.
Right. So, what would be your solution to reparations, and how should that be?
Well, for me, a couple things. Number one.
Wait, before you get into that, let me read a new comment. Okay, but you can't hold future Black single moms accountable. Yeah, my thing, Hard Talk Radio with Omar and the single mother situation, personally, this is how I view it. I view it as like another means to get the people that really got a good portion of the money and that spending money in the community to really support and donate to his actual cause. I don't really recall or seen how can I say Black men supporting Umar Johnson personally. I just don't see it personally. I could be wrong, but Well, I know. Yeah, that's as much as I'm gonna say. All right, let's keep going. Fair use, fair use.
The psychological cost of reparations has not been effectively quantified yet. That's being left out of the conversation. You can get more for psychological damage than you could get for unpaid labor. You feel me? 246 years of unpaid labor, that's nothing compared to the psychological terrorism that white people has reaped on our ancestors. That's in our soul, in our DNA, in our blood.
Right.
I don't hear enough people talking about the psychological cost. That's your biggest pay right there. And when I say pay, I don't say cash because I think cash payment is a trap. I don't have a problem with cash being on the list, but it should not be primary, especially now, because you have BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, who are about to float their own currency. They're going to tie it to the gold reserves in their countries, and that's going to drop the value of the dollar. So if the U.S. dollar is about to plummet, why in the hell would you accept payment for your ancestors' dehumanization through a worthless American dollar? Money is a trap. But all these thirsty reparations people, all they want is some money. I mean, let's just be honest. Half the people talking about reparations just want to check. They have no vision for changing nothing for Black America. They have no history of grassroots struggle. They're YouTubian opportunists, most of them.
Yeah, he's right about that. I'm gonna let y'all guys up in a second. Give 1 second. Fair use, fair use.
Not deep thinkers.
I honestly don't think Black people would be financially responsible enough to use that money. I think we just gonna get that money right back.
We are. Cars and chains.
We are.
Cars and chains,
which is another issue that I have with our approach to reparations. When did we come together and choose people to represent us in this conversation and in this negotiation?
Who is it though?
People are self-selecting themselves. You know why? Because we are disorganized. So before there's any reparations conversation, before there's any distribution of reparations, we have to first organize and elect the people we want to represent us. You just can't have somebody on YouTube popping up, I'm the face, I'm the face. That's why Black America always gets exploited. Because we are disorganized, anybody can claim to be the leader. You can go out here right now and say you're the leader of Black America, and guess what? Nobody's probably going to oppose you because we are so disorganized. And a disorganized people are ripe for opportunists. Opportunists love disorganization because it gives you the right to do anything and not be held accountable for it. So number one, we need to be organized. And until we get organized, there should be no conversation on reparation. Because I'm gonna tell you what the white man gonna do. We already know what he's gonna do. He's gonna look for people he can use, and he's going to give the reparations to them, and he's going to dictate how they use the reparations. Y'all follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So he's not sweating this. He said, okay, this is how y'all want to handle this? No organization, no conversation, just a few, okay, well, let me select him because I know I own him, and let me select him, I know I own him, and y'all going to use this money just for basketball and football. You understand me?
Right.
It'll be a joke.
Right.
A disorganized people should never go to war with an organized people.
Right. That's failure.
There has never been a war in history where a disorganized group of people won against an organized group of people. Show me where. We can't. And reparations will be no different. On top of that, you need an infrastructure to catch the reparations, to make sure that the Black dollar circulates several times before it leaves your community.
Right.
All right. Our talk, you there?
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Yeah, I'm here.
All right. You can mute yourself when you're ready.
Huh?
The Black dollar.
When you're ready, you can let me know. All right, I'm gonna continue playing.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So I'm not sure how long you've been listening Our Talk Radio. Any rebuttals to the one and only the good Dr. Umar Johnson? So far?
I don't really believe that the trauma of slavery is like passed on through DNA. I mean, post-traumatic, like PTSD is something that, post is something you've been through, like soldiers have been through war and they've killed people or they've been through something that's traumatic. You got post-traumatic stress from that. If you haven't been through something like that, you don't have post-traumatic, you don't have any PTSD from that unless you've been a slave in Africa. Because we have slavery in Africa. We do have that.
One thing, if we could use code words, it'd be better. Oh, yes, But go on, continue.
Okay. We have, damn, how do I say it? We have that type of stuff going on in Africa today. Okay, and if you have gone through that, then I could say you have some sort of disorder. I hope that doesn't get you in trouble.
No, that's fine. Yeah. Usually, I prefer to use the word deletion instead of the K word. But yeah, one thing, with the mentality and the indoctrination and all that good stuff, is that I said before, and I remember a particular man did some studies, the epigenetics side of things. Certain things can be passed genetically through the bloodline somehow, but how we live in a structure that promotes it, it kind of fuels the so-called I can't say laziness, but the trauma that people might have suffered and they bring forth in life in real time. Now, one thing with Dr. Omar, there's some things I do agree, and there's some things I'm sorry to say I disagree. The things I disagree mostly is that you cannot solve your affairs and think that if one soil doesn't get what's rightfully theirs, was reparation, no one else should be, saying, unless I get mine, you should not get yours. That's not really logic thinking. You get me? Because how things are structured, that once somebody gets something, everybody else wants it too, and they're gonna fight as hard, in my opinion, because people are followers. Hard talk.
Well, my thing is the fact that, all right, white people can't be asking for reparations because you already got that with Lincoln. Lincoln gave reparations to the slave owners. Each got 300 apiece. So
correct.
What are they talking about? That's how I see it. And Latinos can't ask for that because they've been getting everything they get. All right. Japanese got theirs from being in the internment camps in World War II. Those people, I'll say it this way to be code speech. Biblical people got their reparations. They've always been getting that. How do I say this? That country in the Middle East has always been getting their reparations. They get it every year.
Mm-hmm.
They're under, they got the U.S. government under their thumb.
Yeah.
Okay. And they have, they get their reparations. But when it comes to African Americans, for some reason, they can't get theirs. I don't understand that. I don't. But the way I see it is the fact that you have too many people using that as a political football. You got too many blacks aiding white supremacy, both on the left and on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Like they will try. There are blacks on the left that will say, "Oh, we got a bill to study. If we study about reparations, why do we need a bill? why do African Americans need a bill to study? And why are African Americans rejoicing about that? Why is that something to be happy about?" And when you talk about these things, it's like, they try to defend it. You're defending the right to study if something's right or wrong or not. If
it's scapegoat. It's waste of time at this point. But it lets you know that if you don't stay on nothing and you're not, and when I talk about fighting, there's many ways to fight to get what you want to accomplish a bigger goal. And I heard they put this bill and they put it to the side for the last almost 30 years now about the HR bill. But my thinking is this, that they're waiting until people that's descendants of this soil be so amalgamated and absorbed into the society genetically before they, in my opinion, before they roll it out. Because in my mind, if they give something to black folks, which a lot of people don't want black people to get anything anyway, they feel they have to start giving something to other people, which are people already got what they want, right? It's like they need to use black folks in America per se as that tool or as that thing you harness on to keep using until you can't use them more, and then you move on to the next thing. Because I tell people many times, what people have else to offer besides trying to steal and take things from other cultures, especially black folks. If black folks don't create it, it does not exist. As much times people don't want to believe that, and if I'm lying, then they if it doesn't matter, you just give black people what's rightfully theirs, and what they decide to do it is their business. I think one woman wrote in the chat room, and it's very good.
She said, like,
let me see. Why do some black people feel they could tell other what to do with their money? I tell you why, Miss Rachi is because good majority of our folks do love to pocket watch others because in their mind they feel they gotta be superior to the next black person. If I own something, like if I got a house and our brothers see me got a house, they want to get a bigger house. It's like a competition thing, even to the point where it said, if you're able to get the same resource as me, there's an even playing field, and I can't have that. I gotta be in competition with you. I'm not in competition with any other groups of people, which is backwardness. You get me? If everybody get what's rightfully theirs, then there's no really need for black folks to compete with each other like that. Because we all owe what is rightfully ours, unfortunately.
Well, the thing is, like, for me, is like, I'm black, but I have ancestry in the Caribbean, and I'm rooting for African Americans to get reparations. I mean, I'm not African American. I was born here, but my heritage is in, the Caribbean. But I do want Black Americans to get that. But the thing is like, it's there's too many booby traps. There's too many there's too many slaves on both sides that are willing to work for white supremacy to make sure to not get reparations, or if you do, it's going to be at the cost of somebody else. Like Gavin Newsom, he set up a study for that, for to study how to get reparations. And I was thinking, wait a minute, the state of California you want to pay, instead of all 50 states, you just want California to pay. That's going to bankrupt all of California. So even if they do get reparations, you won't be able to spend it, and it will cause a huge backlash to all the blacks in California. So it's just a booby trap there. It's so sick. It's just how are you going to get this from these people who are white supremacists? Like, it's even how to even think about even African Americans getting reparations when you're trying to fight against white supremacy and you want to ask white supremacists for your money, who claim not to be white supremacists. And it's, that's what I see. Sometimes I see the madness of it. It's sometimes mad, a suicide mission. Sometimes it's looked upon as a fool's journey because of the simple fact of to beat these odds. Can you beat these odds? Can you? It's.
Yeah, I mean, don't try to overthink or complicate, because it is what it is. Hold on, let me see what this is. Oh, it's you. Okay. All right. Amiri? Is that you? Hello? Oh. I'll wait till. All right, he'll get his mic set. Let me keep playing. Fair use.
Leaves our community in less than 24 hours. So if you accept a cash payout, all you did was serve as a middleman between the Federal Reserve and every thirsty merchant in the black community raping us financially. Because every penny you get from reparations is going to go to the Chinaman, to the Arab, to the Jew. It's going to Mercedes, it's going to Nike. And then black people say, you don't know that that's true. Yes, I do know that that's true. You know why? Because as a psychologist, the best predictor of future behavior is current behavior.
Right.
So you mean to tell me we're going to radically change our spending habits with the reparations money?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
When you've never been responsible with your own damn money? What happened to all the stimulus checks Black America got? What we do with that for the people? What about our tax returns? What do we do with that for the people? What have we done since Dr. King's murder 55 years ago, financially and collectively, to transform our reality? Nothing at all. And that's why I've said I do not believe that the current generation of African people should be responsible for the dissemination or discussion over reparations, because we haven't done anything worthwhile that will entitle.
All right. Amir, you ready? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, what's good?
Hey,
welcome back. Long time since you pop up in the channel. What's good? How you doing?
Nothing much, man.
How long you been listening so far?
I've been listening. I was listening for like when you first came on. Then I was on a phone call for a little while. Dude, I was on a phone call, so I just started listening again. And I was hearing the part about who is that? That's on the panel. I heard him talking about reparations.
Hard Talk Radio on Sunset. He's a YouTuber. He's a content.
Yeah. When he was talking about the whole thing with California, how that's a booby trap. But you and I know that, Chaos, because we actually talk to the experts. See, we ain't just talk to no silver-tongued grifter who just so happened to be in California running this goddamn mouth a mile a fucking minute. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Dr. Sandy Darity had already laid it out that reparations has to be a national initiative coming directly from the federal government. And there are these other like conversations, those things are distractions, man. And that's exactly what we were just saying how it's gonna play out. That's exactly how it's gonna play out, especially in California. And states the states don't have the financial wherewithal to pay that kind of money. You see what I'm saying? This is what happens when you listen to grifters and you don't actually listen to the experts. Because Dr. Sandy Darity told us that when we interviewed him. We done interviewed Dr. Sandy Darity on the topic of reparations, who was actually at the focal point of it becoming a national conversation. We've interviewed him on more than one occasion, and he's laid it out succinctly. But of course, you know, like I said, niggas follow personality, they follow style, they don't really follow substance. That's a trap, man.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Malcolm
That's
X
a trap.
talked about that. Malcolm X talked about that. The people we got in charge to speak for us are entertainers, sports athletes, actors, people who are slaves to the media elite, to the global elite, and they, you know,
Right.
they're gonna, you know, Malcolm X talked about that, and you see in other cultures when they want people to speak for them on serious issues, they don't have Joe Leguizamo, they don't have
Right.
any of these people, they don't have Fat Joe, they don't have
Right.
any other people like that. They get people that actually can speak on serious topics. These people know their lane. And for the blacks, you get Tariq Nasheed, who turned the Hidden Colors Museum into a hookah lounge.
Right. Well,
You don't see the
that's
Jews.
because it was a.
You don't see the Jews turning their Holocaust museum into a nightclub.
But see, that's because see, but it goes back to the same thing. See, that whole thing about the museum, that was just a clever marketing ploy for Tariq to be able to own a piece of that property down there in Los Angeles that he feels going to be lucrative coming up. You know what I mean? Because of all that gentrification and everything that's going on in that area. So I already knew that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, if you're talking about something like a museum, museums thrive off of philanthropy and philanthropic endeavors, and they have big money donors. You see what I'm saying? So already, if you're talking about bankrolling a black owned museum, you're already coming from a deficiency already because we're a highly undercapitalized group of people anyway. So like I just knew it on its face it wasn't going to fly as a museum financially because that takes a lot of money. Like how often do you think people get up every day and be like, you know what, let me go to the museum? No, man, like that's something that you have to have deep pockets and big money donors for. So I knew he was gonna
Yeah.
have to use it as a nightclub, a hookah lounge, a comedy club, a juke joint. You know what I'm saying? So forth and so on, man. And everything about how Tariq has been handling this reparations conversation, it offends me. And the reason why it offends me is because he think he's so thorough at spitting game and being this silver tongued devil that what he says it assaults my intelligence. You see what I'm saying? So he just think he can get that off because that's what they expect. They can just tell us what we want to hear. You know what I'm saying? Sell us on this idea of group economics when really what they got you doing is bankrolling and funding their business endeavors and then come right back to you and tell you how they're so successful as an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? When everything about their entrepreneurship is limited to their full activism. That they're using money from you see what I'm saying? So like, that's what I find offensive about Tariq and his approach to this whole reparation. That's not to say that he doesn't make great arguments and doesn't do a good job man out the case. But at this point, we're not like there is no conversation or debate to be had on the issues of reparation. We know what's been done. Like it's just a fact of American history. What we have to deal with is the actual process. It's the process of how do you get from point A to point B. Because if you're talking about reparations, you're talking about something that's a political problem. You have to deal with the politics of getting something like that done on the national level. And this is why he couldn't understand the perspective that Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks were coming from when they were talking about voting down ballot Democrat and when they were talking about doing this from a perspective of having an ADOS movement in an organization. Because he's even created in the minds of his followers this false binary between we're a lineage, we're not a group, we're not an organization. The United States government gives money to organizations. Like
Yeah.
you have an APAC. You see, in order for Jews to get the advocacy that they get in this country, you have to have an APAC organization. But if you've never really paid attention to politics, you've never engaged in politics, like we have to realize like the extent to a lot of these people's politics who want to be these thought leaders as it relates to the issue of reparations, the extent of their political action is voting for Barack Obama as president. They've never worked on a campaign. A lot of them haven't even voted locally. They've never voted for, worked on a local councilman or a school board campaign. So they don't even understand the first, second, or last thing about politics. But if you're talking about the issue of reparations and the economic position that Black people are in this country, it's a political problem. It doesn't have. I'll be honest with you, it has less to do with race. It has more to do with the politics. And so, how do you create the political will? How do you create the leverage on the legislators to get them to pass a comprehensive reparations bill specifically for ADOS and FBA Black people? But you don't hear like running around calling immigrants tethers and engaging with people from different places. That might make for good content on YouTube and it give you a laugh, and give you something to listen to. But it's not going to bring home the bacon in terms of reparations. It's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just going to end up with what you started with, and that's exactly what's happening. And what you see taking place in California, that's what that is. And don't think that a lot of these political operatives aren't astute enough to understand that that's what they're doing when they want to make reparations a local or state issue. It's not. This is solely on on the back of the federal government to alleviate this bifurcation that they've created through the policies they implemented that created the authority framework that created the racial wealth gap. When we're talking about reparations, we're talking about how do we close the racial wealth gap. It has less to do with the states and it has more to do with the federal government.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. And I also think the reason why that it's, this is not going to be able to become a reality is the fact that, the Black community has to be able to disconnect from entertainment when it comes to these people and start looking for people that actually care. I know there's some people, Black people, that actually care about this reparation situation, but you're going to have a war against these Democrat puppets that want to put leaders, because this is what they do. They're going to try to put leaders in your face that they want you to subscribe to. And you have to fight the matrix. And if you do that, that's when the war happens.
Right. But I agree with you.
Martin Luther King, he was siding with the Rothschilds, but then it was at the end of his life, he realized he was doing wrong. Okay. And Malcolm X was more of the leader, because you see things, man, like even with the Black Panther movie, right? Even though it's a make-believe movie, you start to understand, because I thought T'Challa was the hero, and in reality, it's Killmonger.
Right.
Killmonger was the hero. Killmonger was the person that was saying that, we have to rise up and get these puppets out the way. We have to. I didn't agree much with starting World War III, but I did understand that you have to get the puppets. You have to call out these people. If you are not really willing to help us fight this race war, we can't fight them with guns and bullets because we don't have the numbers. We do not have the numbers. It's a fantasy when you hear these Blacks talking. You're 14% of the population. You are not winning no damn race war, hand to hand, bullet to bullet. You're not. So you're going to have to find another route, which is you're going to have to fight against this, for reparations, get these jokers out the way, these YouTube personalities. If they can't really know anything about politics and actually be willing to learn and to actually, go head to head and actually want to do a real service for the Black community, then they have to step aside. Of course, you're going to be maybe putting your life on the line because you're stepping out of the matrix. You're not following the script.
Right. Well, I agree. I agree with some of what you said. I agree with some of what you said. Not everything with what you just said, but I do agree with you in principle that you do have to get these puppets out of the way. But this is what I realize is that what you see, like a lot of these YouTube personalities doing is they want to see the narrative. Like I did a show the other day. It was the first time I did a show in probably a month. But one of the things that I noted, the observation I made, is that you have to realize that what we're witnessing, even with this reparations discussion, is you're witnessing the end of pro-black politics. See, pro-black politics itself, it has failed to yield any appreciable benefits for black people. Like this is exactly why you have to have, in our modern time, you have to have this discourse about these black puppet democratic shields. But we have to acknowledge that it was pro-black politics that created that entire framework. That's what made it operate. Like you had the Congressional Black Caucus. The Congressional Black Caucus itself was born out of this idea of pro-black politics. And so it was that's just what it's going to create. And so what you see people like Tariq Nasheed and others doing through this same framework of pro-black politics is they're attempting to seize the narrative. So basically, they're saying, well, you have these democratic shields, but these people are just avatars for left-wing ideologies. But I don't know why we're assuming that somehow they're doing anything different. And the reason why I'm saying that is because these people are, at the end of the day, these people are capitalists. You see what I'm saying? Like it's all a capitalist endeavor. Like the reason why they're talking to this whole stuff about democratic shields and anything, it's not because they actually understand the political process. It's because they're attempting to seize the narrative, because it's the narrative that's going to make them money. You see what I'm saying? And so if you can get,
you can't say that you are for black people if you have to be a prostitute to. I mean, if you want to
but
help,
listen to what I'm saying. But listen, but we see, and this is why I'm talking about the whole pro-black politics, because you have to understand, like, politics in and of itself. Politics is based on quid pro quo. In one of the defining ideologies of politics is there are no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, only permanent interests. And so it's about whoever can get you to what your ultimate goal is, then that's who you align yourself with, and that's who you do business with. Now, that's why I was bringing up the whole fact of the Congressional Black Caucus and how it was going to create this whole thing where you have these democratic shields, because it's political suicide within a two-party system to align yourself with one party 90% or 100% of the time. So if these people, these congressional black representatives who are supposedly representing black districts and black interests and stuff like that, if they were really interested in actually doing what was in the best interest of black people, well, then they wouldn't be solely caucusing with the Democratic Party. They would have been an independent caucus where we'll just operate as a swing voting block. So if the Democrats are going to do things that's going to further the agenda of the black community, then we'll align with Democrats. If it's the Republicans who are going to do things that will further the agenda of the black community, then we'll align with the Republicans. But that's not what the Congressional Black Caucus did. The Congressional Black Caucus aligned themselves with the Democratic Party and with the Liberal Coalition, and thus, as a result of that, we've been stuck in a position where we have operated as the foundation and the basis by which all these other leftist quack movements and agendas eat off of. So that's why I said I'm not saying that there are some things that these YouTube personalities say that's true. I'm talking about actually understanding how the political process works. And so even in saying that, if we're talking about somehow breaking down what we have going on with the liberals and the left and the Democrats, but even in doing that, you can't talk about Democrats as if they're your enemies, because there are no permanent enemies in politics and there are no permanent friends. Who is going to give me something for my vote? You see what I'm saying? And what I worry, real quick. I'm about to bring it home. What I worry about is, in the way it's being presented now, are we in effect setting up the same type of scenario where now you have black people who are voting for Republicans solely because it's anti-democrat or anti-liberal? You see, these people, we're conservative. Yeah, like Tariq says that all the time. And I just think that's a trap. I think it would be more advantageous if we just said, okay, we're going to be an independent voting bloc. But that, we haven't been doing that.
All right.
Well, I mean, the thing is, this.
Wait,
All right,
wait.
Yeah.
I somebody leave a comment. Let me see and read the chat room and then move this because I can't read that. Hold on. Dr. Omar speaks in stereotypical rhetoric. Studies show for most people, including Black people, spend 70.7% of food, 53.7% utilities, 52% household and personal care products, and 23.2% paying debt. Yeah. Okay. Let me see how much more time on this video. I'm gonna let you finish your statement. Then
Yeah. What I wanted to say was the fact that the thing is, like, the Democratic Party with their white supremacy. Like, I get what you're saying, but the thing is, like, with the Democrats, they want to try and force. All right, I'm trying to be speaking code. The rainbow mafia on our kids. They want to, bring this assignment stuff to our kids, and that stuff has been known to cause self-deletion. Okay. And the problem is also with Black people is the fact when you're on the Democratic side, you have to be included in everybody's struggle, and your struggle gets diluted. That's been happening since the civil rights. The rainbows were always, trying to attach themselves. And now when you want to try and fight for what you want, you got to be everything else, including the rainbows. And they're working to destroy everybody's family unit, especially the Black family unit. A lot of Blacks don't want to look at that, but it's the truth. You can look for yourself, and it's the truth. New York City had a parade, and they were saying, we're coming, we're free, we're proud, and we're coming for your kids. It's gotten to that point. So siding with them, you're understanding that you're siding, okay, with the destruction of your family.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about, the race war. I'm talking about this is the race war, and you see a lot of pro-Blacks saying the race war, and the race war's in your face, and you're not paying attention to it. You're not paying attention to the race war with the Planned Parenthood. You're not paying, and there's a lot of doctors who have been abusing minor females and women, and there's a lot of that has been happening. Some have even been deleted, and it's been covered up. And this is the race war we're fighting here, and this is the race war they're not looking at. It's not just hoods. It's in your face when you take, when they go to the clinic, or they're being pressured to go to the clinic to delete a Black baby. This is the race war. So this is what I'm talking about. Now, I would say, what could we do? Do we start buying politicians? Do we start voting Republican in the meantime to get to at least vote for the policies for safer communities? Okay. I don't really like Republicans either, but to vote for them will lead to safer communities.
Okay.
At the same time, possibly getting money for grants and businesses, for Black businesses, legit businesses. Because if you vote for policies, I know the Republicans, they're very much in your face. We are not giving you anything, and we don't like you. Okay. They don't even like you having Juneteenth. They prefer that you should work. Okay. Charlie Kirk has said that. All right. We could get possibly voting Republican for safer neighborhoods, and then get grants for Black businesses, so they don't have to worry about being another Destiny Harrison getting murdered in Baltimore in front of her 1-year-old daughter because she had money and she had her own beauty salon at the age of 27. So what do you think would be what do you think, Amari?
I just said it. You have to, there's Black people voting Republican. It's not. I mean, in terms of national politics, it's not going to really move the needle for them. And the reason why is because it's like what you were saying, because we're a minority group, and then you have to look at where Black people are majority at, because based off of the electoral college, it depends on which states go where, which states vote Republican for the Republican candidate, which states vote for the Democratic candidate. You know what I'm saying? So this is why something that you hear Republicans say, they'll talk about, look at all these Democratic cities and how these Democratic cities are this, that. it's because of the policies, but really it's because of how it's because of how this stuff has been structured from the beginning. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to always be this thing where black people are. You're going to see those types of outcomes, not because of the democratic policies. It's because of racism and white supremacy. That's how they do the bait and switch. So what I'm saying is as black people, you have to actually be engaged in a political process, and you have to actually hold the people responsible who are supposed to be representing you in the political process, and that's the Congressional Black Caucus. There should be a move to make the Congressional Black Caucus an independent caucus. Like the reason why they've been able to subordinate the issues of black people to the rainbow movement, these other movements. You think that's because that's what I'm talking. That's because of these congressional black Democrats who align with the Democrats, and so they have to toe that party line. And basically, what these people have been doing, they've been selling the black community out. But if you're not going to even take the initiative to be engaged in a political process, and the processes that send these people to Congress, who then sell you out for their own good, then that just allows them to operate with impunity. It's the same foolishness like what Tariq was talking about. Shit, we just not gonna. I ain't voting. Black people shouldn't vote. Well, then guess what? That means that these politicians that are there in Congress, they have job security if you don't vote. If you're not going to take your behind to the polls and vote these people out who have been selling you out, then guess what? That just means they're going to be there. And this is how you can have people who've been in Congress. They have people who've been in Congress longer than I've been alive. And all they've been is a rubber stamp for the Democratic Party and these other quack movements, and have basically gave the black community their ass a kiss. But of course, black people are more interested in Cardi B. They're more interested in Takeoff. They're more interested in gender war bullshit. They're more interested in all this other shit that has nothing to really do with their quality of life. And then the things that actually do dictate their quality of life, they're not even interested about, and they're going to tell you it don't matter.
Well,
see what I'm saying? So you have to hold
those who are, but it's the majority of them that are for Cardi B. You have a majority, but not all of them. Not all blacks are.
Yeah, I didn't say all blacks. I didn't say all blacks, but we have to be honest that majority of Negroes are not engaged in the political process, and they think it don't matter. And they think it don't matter. Then when the law come out and say child support going up $200 on your ass, then they want to sit here and be complaining and crying and blaming it on black women, but never took the time to vote or even paid attention to their candidates, who's the local representatives for their district, or none of that. See, I come from the politics. Back home, and my mother was a political operative. I worked on campaigns, and we're talking locally. I even worked on the Obama campaign, so I've been around it. So I know that at the end of the day, that stuff actually matters. But if you just got these people who selling you out, and you ain't even gonna take the time to go vote their ass out and show them you're not gonna accept that, then of course it's what they gonna do. You see what I'm saying? Of course it's what they gonna do. So you're not gonna get different behavior from your representatives by not voting. That just means they ain't gotta work because look, you have to see. I bet you Tariq don't even know what gerrymandering is. So you not voting as black people, it ain't gonna change nothing, because guess what? These black congressional members, they represent majority black districts, so they're sealed. The seat is sealed because they're over majority black districts. And this is what I'm saying. So then when they get in office, they just a rubber stamp for the Democrats. And see, they just selling you out because they getting what they want to get, and they might do a little something here and there and stuff but they ain't got to worry about losing their job, man.
Yeah. All right.
That's what I'm saying.
Let me continue, please, because I got 15 minutes of this. And like I always, Mary, if we could tone the wording, it would be wonderful, if possible. You know what I'm saying? I am, got the $sign now on this. So. All right, let's continue. Very serious.
Us to that type of responsibility, right? So we should get our land back. all the land that was confiscated from African people between the end of slavery and the end of Reconstruction. You're talking about tens of thousands of acres. All the land got to come back. All of the inventions that Black people invented, everything from the gas mask to the stoplight, refrigerated truck, the golf tee, the ironing board, all of that reverts back to us as a permanent patent. And whenever you use it, we got to license it to you. We get paid for it. Black music, all Black music, only Black people. One of the biggest reparations settlements we can have. Only Black people can own, sell, publish, promote, or perform Black music.
That's big, right? That's
Black music is one of America's top exports.
Right.
This country makes more money off selling Black talent than almost anything else she sells. If we own Michael Jackson's catalog, Sam Cooke's catalog, the Beatles catalog, think about that.
Prince catalog. Yeah.
Prince catalog, all of them. We have enough money to build a Black Wall Street in every city. We got to get the music. Any reparations package that does not give us exclusive control of our music, as far as I'm concerned, is a loss. Because Black music is too powerful, too globally influential, and brings in too much revenue for us not to control the music.
Would you? Or are you referring to like the past music or current?
Past and present. Past and present.
Yeah.
You think
In other
that's
words, Sony Records, Warner Brothers, Universal, you've made billions of dollars off those catalogs. Pass them on over now. Do you feel me?
Yeah.
They've made more than enough money.
Right.
You understand me? More than their families made. It's time to revert them on back.
What you think?
And we can't let nobody trivialize that, because this is how you going to just take it back. The same way white people went into Palestine and took land from the Palestinians and gave the Israelis, the European Jews, a country of their own.
But that go back to the war thing. Like they shed blood for that. They went over there with organized, you know what I mean, and was able to assert.
But that was an
themselves.
act of the global white power structure. The European Jews themselves didn't go over there and wage war.
Okay.
The U.S. and Britain, they did that. And the reason they did that is they wanted to have a satellite country amongst the Middle Eastern nations that they could use as a spy in a military base in case they need to go to war with Iran or Iraq. In other words, it benefited America and the UK to have Israel right here amongst the Arabs. So if we need to go to war, we can launch from right here. They was looking out for themselves, really.
Always.
You see.
What
But
you gonna say,
also, in addition to that, America's natural resources. America has like 10 major natural resources. We should get a 25% cut of the revenue of all those natural resources into perpetuity, permanently, forever. You
What about
follow me?
tax exemption? Should that be on the table as well?
I'm not against it. It's
Okay.
not the most important thing, though.
All right.
Because if you're economically empowered, you really don't care what your taxes are. We have to
Like
think
the
like
Native
wealthy.
Americans, that don't they get aren't they like exempt from taxes and stuff?
Who
like
is?
that? Native Americans.
I'm not sure. They might be.
I think.
I think that was part of the.
I'm not against it.
Right.
But I don't, when you think of a reparation settlement, the whole purpose of the settlement is to empower your people,
Right.
right? There's no billionaire in America who's fighting for a tax exemption because he's making enough money to pay them. Are y'all following me? We got to
Or
make
they
sure.
find loopholes in the system where they
They
don't gotta
find
pay.
loopholes to pay less. I agree with
Right.
that. But they're not going to sleep worrying about their tax bill. Jay-Z and Tyler Perry are not losing sleep over their tax bill because they're wealthy. We have to make sure that we don't approach reparations, which is supposed to be an empowerment vehicle for African peoples, with a poverty mindset. You follow me? It's like if somebody said black people should never have to pay to park on the street again. Who the fuck cares?
Right.
You
Yeah.
follow me?
Yeah.
If you got enough revenue coming in, who cares about that?
Right.
If we have to be concerned about a tax exemption,
Give me a second.
then you're automatically telling me
4 seconds.
that whatever we're getting for reparations
Ain't shit.
isn't enough to sustain our families. You feel me?
Yeah.
If we got to be concerned about a tax exemption, whatever we got on that reparations list is not enough to sustain us. Because if you still got to hide from your taxes, you're not making enough money. You feel me?
That's right.
So that means we got to go back to the drawing board.
So with these,
Now, before I could wait, hold on. Let me see it. I want this to be at 40. Let me play 20 seconds, but I want this to be at the 40-minute mark.
big companies controlling like the politicians,
Mhm.
how likely you think it is for us to get our music back from these big companies? Like,
Well, remember, your negotiations are with the government. So it's the government that got to go to the Jewish corporations that own our music and say, this goes to them now. We don't care if y'all like it or not. And you know why the Jewish...
All right, let me pause right there. Now, my issue with the tax situation, people understand, why did the Europeans, when they were sent here to start colonize the world, what was the first thing they fought with their own homeland? Can anybody remember? Mary? And our talk? You there, Mary?
What you said? What you said again?
Remember in history when the Europeans, when the criminals of their own kind that was sent off to the other nations to start colonizing the world, to start the slave trade, all this stuff, find new world. What was one thing they had conflict with their own brothers and sisters in Europe that they fought back in the 1700s? What was the fight about again? Can anybody remember?
You talking about with the Revolutionary War?
Yeah. What really was really?
Oh, it was over tax. Oh yeah, taxes.
So what the hell is? See, this is why he needs to stay in his lane in real psychology and all stuff, but he doesn't understand why people fight wars, especially other people in their own nation fought. First place, they didn't want to be paying back in their homeland, which in the form of taxes. You must give back to Rome. You cannot accept that. But if you're not an economist and to understand what really is the biggest robber of wealth, it's really taxes.
Right.
But you see right there, this you did not pick up the flaws of Omar in regards to say, I'm not really concerned. No, you had to concern about it because this was one of the things that started this nation in the first place.
Well, it's
one of them. But it's one of the things that really went to war to really start allegedly separate from their homeland, Britain. Allegedly. But go ahead.
Yeah, now I like Umar, but he don't know what the hell he's talking about. That's that. Listen, man, if you gonna come trying to lecture black people about our finance, you need to get that goddamn school done. All right, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. You ain't in no position to lecture me, man, about you know what I'm saying? And I ain't even gonna say you've been stealing money or whatever, but you ain't got the school done. You need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like before you gonna come lecture me about my spending and what I'm doing. That's number one. Number two, what he's doing, he's wanting to make reparations this Pan-Africanist thing, but American reparations is not about Pan-Africanism. It's not even about, because he's conflating nationalism and sovereignty. We're American citizens. Period. This whole thing where everybody want to act as if black people are some American other and aren't intrinsically American, that's all bullshit. It's all cap, and it's white supremacist. It's a white supremacist sympathetic argument to suggest that black people aren't American. We are American citizens. Reparations that we're talking about has to do with alleviating the racial wealth gap here in America. Period. That's all it's about. We ain't gotta like, how you gonna own black music? That's not even realistic. That's not realistic. We don't live in a communist country or a socialist country where the government owns the means of production. We live in a capitalist country where private entities and private people and individuals can engage in commerce and they can own the means of production, and that's how they create their wealth or whatever. So with that being said, the government can't come in and tell these Jewish-owned labels that they got to give all the rights. They don't even work like that. You know what I'm saying? And if they was going to do that, so for example, Sam Cooke money wouldn't come to his masters, or the rights to his music wouldn't come to us as a black community. That would go to his family. What are you talking about? See, this is what I'm talking about. See, niggas that be sitting there listening. Well, Dr. Umar kicking that science and that knowledge. You know, this stupid shit, man. That's not even realistic, man. It ain't all that. We know what it is. If you're talking about reparations specifically for American descendants of slaves and FBA, then we're talking about $300,000 per individual per household. We know that. In total, that's $14 trillion. That's not coming from no Tariq Nasheed or no other janky ass YouTube pro-black. That's coming directly from experts. Dr. Sandy Darity, professor at Duke University, who's done the real work in the research on the issue of reparations. You know what I'm saying? That stuff, Dr. Umar Johnson, that sounds good to be circulated on YouTube and to go, on Facebook and social media and to go viral and into it, induce some romantic response out of black people, but that's not realistic, man. Not even a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Not even a little bit, man. It ain't that.
Plus, we got
he overcomplicating it.
Yeah, we got the issue of this the gangster rap and the prison pipeline. We got an issue with
Yeah, right.
we
I
have
agree
to
with you.
why not Umar Johnson attack that? But the thing is like there's a whole bunch of important things that have to be realistic. Okay, we have to, the school system, you know, and the thing is like even how to make moves in government, like buying politicians. Okay, which I think is a risk, but what can you do? To buy a politician to actually be on your side for black issues. The only problem is what happens if that politician gets a bigger offer than you already paid him to do.
And you're really
Why
out.
that's why you just don't just don't buy your politicians. You get dirt on them too. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole goal is to have leverage. Is to have leverage. You know what I'm saying? So buying them is one way of having leverage. Now, of course, we could be doing it in something that's unethical or maybe even illegal. But at
I
the end
think
of the
you
day,
got
that's,
echo now.
that's
You got echo now, Mary. I think
I
Mike's
got an
giving
echo.
Yeah, it's giving an echo now. Now it's starting to echo. I don't know if you're on your road or something, but it's starting to echo up now. So you know.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. But good team. Good team. All right. I'll wait till he fixes. But how much more time left in this video? Like another 10 minutes. Let me go 10 more minutes this then. I'm gonna pause in between, but let me get as far as possible this videotape. Fair use. Fair use.
Music companies can't say nothing about it
Wow.
because they participated in our slavery too. So they couldn't say, well, this was just business.
Yeah.
No. Y'all financed the slave ships. You were the ones who paid the slave masters for slaves who showed up deceased or missing an arm or missing a leg or the ones who committed suicide. European Jewish were the biggest financiers and insurers of the slave voyages. They were also slave owners. Okay? The
I ain't going.
Secretary of
you
War.
bordering anti-Semitism. That's what they're going to say.
No.
Right
This
now,
is truth. Anti-falsehood. Secretary of War for the Confederacy, I believe, was a European Jew. He owned over 100 slaves, I believe.
So that's not enough bloodshed. You get what I'm saying? The time of slavery, all the black people that died, that's not enough bloodshed for us to get reparations the right way.
Of course it is, but here's the problem. Here is the problem. You were enslaved to give white people an eternal advantage over everyone else in the world, economically and politically, including you. With reparations, you're asking this white man to undo, repair, reparations. You're asking him to undo the unfair advantage he spent the last 500 years building for himself.
Right.
And that's why I'm gonna go back to my earlier point. I don't think we get reparations without war. People have went to war for less than what we are entitled to. And here's the big question you got to ask yourself. Because from a Garvey perspective, it's all about power. It ain't about equality. It ain't about justice. It ain't about Jesus. It ain't about voting. It ain't about being an American. It ain't about equity. You know what it's about? The power you have to force the white man to do what he don't want to do. And here's my question. What are black people going to do if the white man gets on television right now and say, you're not getting anything for reparations? We took a poll and most Americans don't feel it's necessary. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Tear up their own community.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We're going to protest and tear up our own communities and
And the very next day, you'll be having lunch and cheese with the same white folks who said you don't deserve reparations.
That's the sad part.
Do you feel me? You have to understand something. We haven't had a comprehensive, sustained movement for systemic change in this country since Dr. King. No matter what people may say or think about Dr. King, he was the last leader to give us a real movement. Nobody has given you a movement since Dr. King. You've had your Million Man marches for one day. You've had your Al Sharpton rallies for one day. You had your Jesse Jackson get-togethers for one day, but you have not had a movement, not a sustainable one, not a comprehensive one. The last time was Dr. King. The point that I'm making, black people are politically lazy and white people know it.
That's why I find it hard for, us to be patriotic for a place that doesn't love or care for us.
But we are the most patriotic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you know why we're the most patriotic? Because we're the most psychologically homeless. Black people are very neurotic about their identity. We hate Africa, where we come from. We cling to America. We will go around the world and brag about being an American. although you enjoy almost no rights. Immigrants who are not even citizens have more rights than you. You have Ukrainians right now getting the Social Security checks, free housing, free medical care, free education. But you have the highest black homelessness rate since the 1960s. How you got Ukrainians who not even citizens living better than black people who built the country? And the reason it's so difficult for us to change that is black people care more about their American citizenship than they do about justice. The minute you bring up, maybe we should disidentify as American citizens, it's certainly an option. It's certainly an option. You have a whole refugee law in the United Nations that would allow us to say we're not being treated like Americans. We no longer identify as Americans. We are Africans in exile, or whatever name we want to give ourselves. But we are definitely not Americans, and we are protected by the United Nations under their refugee laws and their anti-genocide conventions. We would get more rights as refugees in this country than we do as so-called American citizens.
I mean, everybody else have the location. They got Little Italy, Chinatown. There's no place.
No Little Africa. Nowhere in this country where you go where black people own the school, the hospital, the bank, and the supermarket.
Facts.
4 major institutions, not to mention manufacturing, and $2 trillion a year. $2 trillion a year. No institutions. Half your HBCUs are supposed to be closed in the next 30 years. God forbid that doesn't happen. But you want more money. But you want more money. To do what exactly? You mean to tell me you can't spend the $2 trillion you got responsibly? But now you ancestors' money so you can splurge that too. If I had a vote, I vote no. That money, none of it, none of the restitution package gets disseminated amongst Black America until Black America organizes itself and begins to act responsibly. I would say this: build the institutions with the $2 trillion that you got. And once you build the institutions, then you get the reparations. Prove that you can handle this. Prove you are responsible enough to deal with these reparations. Build some institutions. Until we get those 5 major institutions in 20 major Black cities, no reparations should be disseminated, because we're going to do nothing but waste it and give it back to non-Blacks.
Now, do anybody agree with that? Our talk? Should Black people in America take whatever money they accumulate yearly, that's around the trillions, into, and use that money that they get from their work, from government jobs, or etc., and put into a few institutions before asking for an actual repair?
The thing is, though, you have to have credible people that you could trust with that money. Okay. A lot of Black people aren't going to do that. A lot of Black people are not business savvy, and they're not going to have the patience or the time to read the legal laws and have stipulations just in case you donate money and this person runs off with the money. There's pyramid schemes and scams that happen like that all the time. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. People get their money, they're going to do what they want with it. Some are going to build businesses. Some may have the mind of Umar Johnson to build an organization. I mean, the only person I would probably trust was King Randall, because King Randall had his school built within 6 months, as compared to Umar Johnson, had to take decades for his school to be built.
It's almost a decade. Next year will be 10 years, because he started in 2014 at 40 years old.
I mean, come on. This is a guy who was, at the casino asking people for donations. I mean, who really is going to take him seriously? Like, I give you money. What are you going to do with it? You're going to run away with it? And he's also said that, I want a compound, and the parents just drop their kids off and they don't pick the kids up. I need to reprogram them. What person wants to trust him with their kids, and who wants to take him seriously?
All right, I'll take that. I wish there was more people in the chat room to give their answers. Chat, what you believe? What y'all say? Yeah, I think that what Omar's saying is right. Look forward to hearing in the comment section or in the chat room. Let's continue. We got 8 more minutes of this video. Various.
That's fair. Listen, let me get to this next topic. Dr. Umar, I had a lot of conversations with people about this topic, a lot of heated debates. People want to know, can you be pro-black and date outside your race? And I-
Absolutely not.
And I got my good brother right here, who's an advocate, and he says that you can be pro-black and
Oh no, here it comes, guys.
Well, I'll say this.
Here it
man.
comes. Here it
I will
comes.
say
Here it
this.
comes. Wait. Let me hear its explanation. Let's listen to the great Dr. Umar Johnson's response. Fair use, fair use.
date outside.
Impossible. You cannot. Marriage is a business. When you get married, you commit your mind, your body, your heart, your soul, and your pocketbook. Your savings, your estate, your wealth. You commit that to that person you're married to. See, when you marry, you don't marry an individual, you marry into a race. You marry into a community. So I didn't marry a Jewish woman, I married into Jewish society. I didn't marry an Asian woman, I married into an Asian family. There's no way you can claim to love Black people, especially as a Black man, knowing that only 1 out of every 4 Black women will get married in her lifetime. We have the lowest female marriage rate in the country, 25%. That means 75% of Black women will never, ever know what it feels like to be proposed to. And if you care
whose
about
fault
the
is
Black
that?
community, you got to care about saving the Black family, because the family is the essential
Wait a minute.
institution of
Wait a minute.
community. And the only way you can save a family is to build a family. You can only build a family with a Black woman. Absolutely not. You cannot talk Black and sleep white. And why would the original man want a member of the race that enslaved and dehumanized you to carry your seed? Why would I, after the rape and the lynching and the slavery and the Willie Lynch and the Jim Crow and the police brutality and the economic apartheid
We need some
and the
answers, Ace.
gentrification and the AIDS and the Ebola, the West Nile, the COVID, the genetics, the eugenics, why would I want to take my original seed, God's seed, and put it in a cave-dwelling organism? Why would I want to do that?
Go ahead. Yeah, we need to hear you, brother.
The mic is yours, Ace.
Yeah.
I want to.
All right. Now, mind you, before you respond, I'm hard talk, and I see a lady, Miss Rich wrote. Read your comment in the section. I don't really push interracialism on my channel per se. I don't believe we should be mixing, but that's not the story. But for the sake of Umar Johnson's rhetoric, whether it's true or not, I mean, that sounds good in a perfect world. But last time I checked, the Negroes are bumping in other
My thing is this:
opposite sex and procreating outside the race and culture. Go ahead.
does he have this same energy for Black women who are pro-Black and sleep white?
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that.
I mean,
I found.
man, listen.
All right, go ahead.
My thing is, like, you got a Black billionaire right now. I think he's a millionaire. I forgot his name, but he's married to a white woman, and he's helped out HBCUs.
Robert Smith.
Yes. Yes, he's married to a white woman.
Yeah.
He's donated that money. HBCUs didn't say, we're not taking your money because you're married to a white woman. They took that money. Okay.
I'll double down. I heard a few Black female conscripts was mad at Robert Smith, and he knows a non-Black person. He should have funded that money to them.
Yeah,
Remember that?
I mean, fund that money to who? You fund that money to an institution that's helping Black people. You don't fund it to no strangers because they got the same skin color as you. What type of nonsense is that? What is that person doing? See, this is the thing. This is why I don't take people like pro-Blacks or Umar Johnson or whoever, Hotep. I don't take them seriously because they always come up with some nonsense. Okay? I do. If you be with somebody, you got to make sure that person, if they're of another ethnic group, what is your thoughts on Black people's struggles? What are your thoughts on Black people? What are your thoughts on Black Lives Mattering? Not the organization, but a literal Black life mattering. Okay? That's what I want to know. And if you can understand that, I want to support, people of my skin color because the history of this country, how does she respect that? You know what I mean? You got to find that character, that person. All right.
All right.
And like I said, they had Robert Smith was a millionaire, and he donated money and he married a white woman. Ain't nobody saying nothing except Black women, the type of Black women that are ignorant, the type of Black women that will celebrate a black woman marrying a white man with no problem, but you will come down with stones and thunderbolts and everything you call him, but the child of God on a black man that marries a white woman. I don't get that hypocrisy. I don't get that.
Yeah, some weird hypocrisy. I mean, I think it's staying faith based with the women in the community that's already dating and producing children outside the culture and outside the race already. I mean, they have a little bit more babies than black men. And I hear certain content creators trying, not actually one content creator, I think he might be trying to rebuttal that. But let's be honest. There's no real serious rebuttal because if they already watching the amount of children being born, especially in America for some time now, they're keeping tabs of the racial dynamics and the race of which children are being produced. You get me? And they could clearly understand. And I did a show on this Hard Talk, and it's in my channel right now about 1.2 million more babies. That's the name of it. I think I did this like last year, and I read the articles firsthand, and it looks like it's actually holds up that every group of men in their own race has more children than the women in their own group, except the Western black man, black woman. The women outpace and have more children than men. And it's not saying that, because only a small pool of black men that's getting access and procreating with the sisters here in America. No, they're not procreating with just only wherever the percentage of black men here. They're procreating with black men and other groups of men. But you see, the problem is we don't do real deep analysis that, okay, you're having babies, that means you're not seeking to be, let's say, wife up. You're having a baby, so you're seeking a relationship and being, I guess, a partner in situationships. And these situations turn out that you're producing two people that's having children but no contractual marriage.
That's the thing. That's another form. Like this feminism, and I have said it more than once, feminism is white supremacy. It's the sister of white supremacy. And you have a lot of women, black women, I'm not a black woman basher, but these are the facts, that they like to be proud to say that I don't need a man, or men are obsolete. That's what was in the Facebook group. Men are obsolete. I could get a man, a woman, a child grown out of my own bone marrow. I'm like that's,
yeah, I heard some weirdness.
And it's just like, and this is white supremacy. This is the race war I'm talking about. Like I say, black people are not really willing to fight that race war because it's really going to be a line in the sand, and it's really going to thin the herd, because you're going to end up having to be like, okay, I can't go to Planned Parenthood anymore. I can't believe in feminism anymore because it's really white supremacy. Elizabeth Stanton didn't even see me as an equal. She had black women marching in the back and confide and ease the worries of white supremacists that don't worry. White supremacists will always be on top and the black one will always be on the bottom. And she was really nasty with black men actually being equal to white men. Really nasty. And then you have Gloria Steinem, who's a CIA operative, and she worked very hard to put black women and black men at odds. Yeah. And these same black women who want, protect black women who want, want black men to be married to them, but you don't want to be wives. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. And you saying that, oh, it's black feminism. No, feminism is for white women, by white women, for white women. Okay, that white woman who's a feminist is not going to make sure your pay is equal to her pay. She's not going to do that because she wants to be equal with her white male counterpart. That's all she cares about. And black women are a beast of burden to feminism. That's all it is.
Yeah. All right, let's continue. Fair use.
Incubate my son, my daughter, in the womb of the people who have destroyed my people in this world.
Now, let me say first, when I made this argument, I wasn't necessarily talking about white women, obviously. Now, I mean, there's other races out there, but
and they hate you just as much.
But what I'm saying, all right. So you said yourself earlier that there are black people among us that are not for us.
True.
So with that being said, there are people of other races that are more for us than there are our people.
Describe for us, please.
when you go to protest for black rights and police brutality and stuff, and you see other races that are out there and there are black people that would never be caught out there. I mean,
Okay. So because an
I'm
Asian
just all right, go ahead.
or a Caucasian showed up for a George Floyd march,
Right.
that means they give a shit about black people.
I'm just saying.
Let me ask you this. According to the Pew Research, they said 1 in 5 protesters during the George Floyd protest was black.
Okay.
4 out of 5 were non-black.
Right.
At least 3 out of the 4 were white. So the George Floyd protests were mostly white people. Okay. If white people care that much about black folks,
no changes.
Why didn't that woman who got Emmett Till murdered, why was she never arrested?
Still,
if white people care that much about black life, why all these police that's going around killing black folks are not being held accountable? If white people care that much about black life, why don't we see it in the political and economic realities of black people?
Facts.
You know why they showed up to the George Floyd march?
Why?
To dissipate the power of black people and to redirect the focus of those marches. White people outnumber black people 5-1. So if you let them in, they automatically take control by virtue of their numbers and redirect it. And so Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic Party, turned the George Floyd march into a damn celebration for Joe Biden. However, because we let it get diluted.
Right.
You have to keep it all black. The minute you let white people in, because you can't control how many join. There's more of them than us here. You can't control how many join. So the minute you let them in, they now have the power to remake this into whatever they want. And because most Negroes who participated in the George Floyd March made it multicultural, every time we get on the microphone, this is not just about black people. I'm so tired of hearing that shit.
It is, though.
Everywhere
it is
you
about
go,
us.
it is about us.
Yes.
But if you notice, when it's about us, it can't be about us.
Yeah.
Can't just
See,
about it.
when the Mexicans shut down the highways in California, nobody tried to multiculturalize that. You understand me?
You're not welcome here.
Absolutely. This is our thing.
Yeah.
When the European Jews, this is our thing.
Yeah.
But soon when black people do it, we got to multiculturalize to do what? Kill the focus of it.
Holding hands.
Nobody
with
wants
everybody.
black
That
people to
shit
be
crazy.
free, and they damn sure don't want you to be equal, and they definitely don't want you to have more than they do.
So let me help my good brother out, right? So some of the talking points when I do have these conversations with other black men or black women is that, procreating is part of being pro-black, right?
It's funny to pause for a second. In regards to the protesting and who they accept, who they don't accept, and who they quarantine, it's ironic when we talk about this brown and black coalition. They don't have the same energy in regards, say they want to unify with blacks on the average.
This black and brown coalition don't exist because
that's what I'm thinking.
50% of Latinos vote white. A lot of these Latinos, they will welcome illegal migrants into the country. They have no problem with it. They don't see the fact that how illegal migrants hurt black African Americans in the job market. They don't care. Like, just let them in. They don't care if they're MS-13. They don't care if they are a leader of a crime cartel. They don't care if this is what it is. And, illegal migration hurts them too. But if there was a black and brown coalition, they would be against illegal immigration. There may be some who do, but they probably have to do it on down low because they'll get backlash from their own people because they see it as like, oh, we're trying to have a better life. Never mind if some of these people are sex traffickers. Never mind if they're gang members. They just want to have a better life. Never mind if they have an incurable STD. And there is racism with these people because there was an article in California about how black warehouse workers were harassed by Latino workers. Okay. So, there's some things, I will agree with Umar Johnson on it, but I always wondered why can't blacks just say no? Like, no disrespect, but this is a march about us. And no disrespect, we just want this to be about us. But it's so far gone because of the willfulness of abortion and how when you try to tell black women, you try to tell black men that, listen, this abortion thing is really just a act of white supremacy because it was created by Margaret Sanger, who hated blacks and idolized Adolf Hitler. And she was for eugenics. and you try to tell them like this right here is you're committing genocide. Do you know that? Do you understand that you're committing genocide? There's a reason why you're 14% of the population.
Yeah. You're right
And they
about
want
that.
to say they want to be pro-black, but you won't want to be pro-black with the womb.
Okay. All right. It's almost done. Let's keep listening to ourselves. Fairies.
With another black person. So
Wait,
some people will say,
before we get into that,
okay,
what will be your description of a pro-black person?
I hate the term pro-black
Okay.
because I never heard of a pro-Mexican, a pro-Jew. This is how messed up we are. Not you for saying pro-black, but for you to have to define a black person as pro-black. Do you know what that means?
right.
That automatically means by contraindication that most black people are anti-black.
That's a fact.
Do you feel me? If I walk in and you say he's pro-black, because this is what people say when they see me, it'll be 1,000 blacks. He's pro-black. Do you know what you're saying about everybody else in here?
Nah,
They're fucking coons. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. We're the only people, we're the people who are for us are the minority. Think about that.
But I think
You have to describe people who care about black people as pro-black. No other group has to do that. And it speaks to how much most of us are anti ourselves.
I don't necessarily think that means you're anti-black, because usually when I think of the word pro, usually is the most extreme of something, right? This is why we have pro-life and everything else.
Yo,
you put pro
Chaos,
in front of something,
I'm gonna
that means
have
the
to head
most
out, right?
extreme. I think people confuse being proud to be black with being pro-black. I think people are proud to be black.
I don't see how one could exist without the other.
What?
If I'm proud to be black, I'm pro-black. I'm for my people.
Yeah, but some people might say, like, when you look up the definition, it might say only supporting black-owned businesses or only to support everything all black. So when you say pro is the most extreme, I'm only buying from black people, I'm only reproducing, I'm only loving black people.
It would be impossible to only buy from black people because we don't manufacture and sell everything that somebody needs in order to survive. For me, pro-black means always putting the best interests of my people first in any situation or any decision that I have to make.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying? You ain't got to be super this, you ain't got to be a black superhero. But I'm going to put my people's interests above anything else in front, above the church, above the mosque, and above other minority groups. My people come first. That's all it means to me. And you ain't got to be extreme with it. You understand me? So people see me, when I walk out on the streets, white people will stop and talk. Arabs will stop and talk. I got people who follow my work of every race, and I will respect them as human beings. But when it comes to the struggle, none of your interests matter before my own people, because my people's interests will never matter before yours.
Okay. And that's pretty much it. And it looks like the brother is gone. Okay. Well, there you have it. Let me pause this. Go back to my screen. I hope y'all guys got some out of this. Overall, personally, in my opinion, Dr. Umar Johnson is alluded to black men overall because he has not accomplished what he said he's set forth to do, regardless of the obstacles. Now, on the other part of this, and mind you, that was the two brothers that had the conversation with Dr. Mark. Shout out to them. Y'all know what the video is anyway, because obviously it's been circling and making its rounds. That a lot of people will call Umar Johnson a grifter, which I have to agree. He started this initiative to really get his own first ever funded black school institution established. I can't say that he will accomplish this goal, but right now, 9 years into this, there's not really any real definite indication that the school is almost up ready for actually having them kids be a part of his actual dream. Now, maybe I might do future shows when he actually accomplishes the goal. I mean, I don't have too much high hopes on Dr. Umar because this has been taking too long. And I think one of his weaknesses, he's not really focused. If he stayed on the course, doing what he had to do, gather the money, stay away from scandals and troubles, I think he would go a lot further in his cause. But because he cannot, keep his desire intact with the lovely sisters, I think it slows him down in regards to him achieving his greater goal and is getting the school up and running. there's more to that this conversation. I don't know if I'm going to do a follow-up video of this. I might do a poll, maybe, if y'all guys interested. I mean, I already exhausted enough time on this, and that's just only 50 minutes off of, I would say, a 3-hour conversation they have personally with Dr. Umar Johnson. And I don't mind doing these long form breakdowns of these my take on some of these other content creators that have these interviews, but it's a lengthy process. I tell you, it's not an easy job doing this type of breakdown. And how my breakdown is different from everybody else. Oh, you enjoyed? Thank you. I hope you're subscribed to the channel, Miss Richie Rich. I hope so. It would be lovely for everybody to support the channel and donate. But like I said, it's Dr. Umar Johnson, so I know this is not going to get much popularity. It might do good in the likes and views of this video, maybe after this. But in regards to contribution, I just don't see it personally. I mean, to me, because it's Dr. Umar Johnson. I mean, who wouldn't want to hear a breakdown of Dr. Umar Johnson? But like I said, everybody has covered, so I decided to put my hat into talking about this, and I did. If I do a follow-up, I will put it in my community tab. Be on the lookout for that. I'm hoping if I feel eager, I might do a follow-up. But like I said, this is almost an hour in the a whole breakdown of this, and the next one's longer, so I don't know. All right. A grifter is being nice until he's produced. He is a slick crook. Yes, I agree. I totally agree with that. Until he has actually produced the school, like literally produced the school, it's grifting at the end of the day. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Miss Richie Rich. All right, that's it. I don't think I have nothing else on this. If you're new to the Chaos Rain Show, welcome to Chaos Rain Show. Oh, another thing. If y'all notice, I got a membership on this channel. I'm looking for a few people to join the membership of the Chaos Rain Show. I have one video for all those. That's the first membership video. I might do another one later on sometime. And like I said, please join the membership for the nice perks and stuff. Be a part of the Chaos Rain Show. Pick what level stage you want to join on the Chaos Rain Show. I mean, there might be some videos that I've done so far might go to membership, or they might stay on YouTube. Who knows? But like I said, join the membership. It won't hurt. I think it's how I price it. It's codified very uniquely. The numbers I picked, it's very unique. But that's pretty much it. The links to follow Chaos Rain Show are: follow me on Twitter at ChaosRain7. Add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. Also, follow me on Rumble. Where's my Rumble page? Let me find Rumble again. Hold on. I had it up here. Oh, here it is. Follow me on Rumble. And I'm going to share this now. Oh, damn. Here's my Rumble. Join the Rumble page. I need a few people to start following me on Rumble so I can start doing some real hardcore some things on Rumble that, it's not really user-friendly on YouTube. So I want to grow the following. Join me on Rumble. Also, join the Discord service of the Chaos Rain Show as well. Like I said, I'm growing multiple social medias. So don't be a stranger. Join these social medias and links to follow me, and we're on our way. And that's pretty much it. I'd like to thank everybody for watching and listening to today's stream. If you have any questions, comments, or reactions, or any thoughts, leave a comment below at the end of this video. And always leave a like on your way in and on your way out of the stream. And like always, Legos! Rain!